Today's episode of Something to Wrestle With is brought to you by our friends at SaveWithBruce.com. Bruce, what am I saying? Our friends are me and you and this other guy, right?
Freak out, because if you're looking to save some money, like consolidating some debt, you want to buy a new house, maybe no money down, maybe you don't have perfect credit. You gotta have perfect credit, right, Conrad?
No, sir. You know the deal. You can get into a brand new house with absolutely no money down, and your new house payment, it's going to be less than your current rent. Find out how easy it is to get out of an apartment and into a brand new house at SaveWithBruce.com. And maybe you'd like to take the family on a little summer vacation. Macho, how does no house payments until September sound?
What are you saying? I can save 2 months worth of payments? Like skip them? Is that what you're talking about here?
You know it, brother. We're talking no payments in July, no payments in August. You're done until September 1st. And come September 1st, you're going to have a better mortgage. Find out how easy it is to save your family tens of thousands of dollars. Get rid of your credit card debt, upgrade some things around the house, even buy a house with no money down at SaveWithBruce.com. That's SaveWithBruce.com. What's that legal information they need?
NMLS
number 65084, Equal Housing Lender.
Oh, yeah.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
Welcome to Something to Wrestle With.
Something to wrestle with.
Bruce Prichard.
Well, you know.
That's not a rib.
She pooted.
Is that a rib?
No, yeah, but me.
There's no box of gimmicks.
Rumor and innuendo.
I don't deal in rumor and innuendo. Was he there? I was there.
Say something about
I don't give a shit. I ain't scared of shit.
I ain't scared of shit.
Fuck him.
Q, Bruce.
I love you take the cheese. Double cheeseburger. You take the break. Double cheese. Well, you know. And then double mayo. You know.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson, and you're listening to Something to Wrestle With Bruce Prichard. Bruce, what's going on, man? How are you?
Hey, that's me. I'm in Alabama.
Yeah,
Do
you
I
are.
sound pretty?
Well, you sound like you're here, man, and we're
I
excited.
sound like I'm right next to you.
Well, I wonder why that is. Unfortunately, who's not right with us, and we need to start this at the top of the show, the man they call Vader, and one of my favorite wrestlers as a kid. We lost him this week, and I got to say it was unexpected for me. I thought Vader was on the mend, and I knew he had some trouble recently, but I thought he had kicked out, man. I was even thinking we might get him to StarCast, so this took me as a surprise this week.
Oh, lover boy Leon.
Yeah, you know, it's weird that, normally I would try to say, man, we got to do a Vader show. But we already did one. It's in our archives when we covered our entire run of Vader in the WWF. And I think it was really almost a breakthrough episode for us because we really covered everything in long form. And I highly recommend it. In hindsight, though, you've got to agree, and I know we're going to probably agree to disagree about this WWF run. Greatest big man ever, right?
One of
Who else would you have on the list?
Undertaker, Andre the Giant. Vader's up there. Definitely top 5. One of the greatest ever. He redefined what the big man is.
Well, listen, I'm a huge Vader fan, and I got to tell you, it put me in a little bit of a funk this week when we found out we lost him. Thoughts and prayers is what we say all the time here, but man, I want you to celebrate Vader the right way. Go find some stuff on the network and remember who he was and what his contributions were. Is it without saying that he needs to go in the Hall of Fame next year? I mean, he's got to go in next year.
You know, I think that Leon should have been in by now. Much less next year. He's definitely Hall of Fame worthy and has had a Hall of Fame career, not just in WWE, everywhere he went.
It's a shame that we lost him, so early, and I was really hoping to get to meet him in real life again. I only got to meet him a handful of times, and he was my favorite as a kid, and it's just weird that we've lost him, and I don't know what to say. We're going to try to get on and have a fun show here with you. We're going to be talking about Sable today, but before we do, I guess we need to go ahead and circle back and touch on all of our live show stuff because we're coming off the heels of a pretty tremendous show in Chicago. Thank you to Chicago for showing up for us at the House of Blues. Also want to thank our man Oscar, who came out and did a little bit of a Men on a Mission rap for Something to Wrestle. And our surprise guest, we had two of them. Tell us about them, Bruce.
Armando Estrada. Armando Estrada was definitely one of our guests, and it was nice to see Armando again because he took exception with being left out of the WWECW podcast. And I told him it wasn't something that he'd actually said, whose Cheerios did I piss in? And I told him, didn't piss in anyone's Cheerios. It's just one of those things. Sometimes people get left out for no other reason than they left them out. And as you said, wrestling royalty, the one and the only Lord Patrick Patterson was there to sing a few songs with us.
You know, it's the third show that Pat's done with us, but every time it's a treat, you know, because Pat is just somebody who's forgotten more about wrestling than most of us will ever know. And he was such a big part of all of our childhoods. And I don't know, just a huge Pat Patterson fan. Thank you to Armando, and thank you to Mr. Patterson, and of course, Oscar, for coming out and making the trip. We had them hanging from the rafters in Chicago. It's certainly one of our best shows yet as far as crowd response. I'm looking forward to going back again. We're going to be there for StarCast. Those tickets are on sale now. StarCast.com. It's 2 hours there. And Bruce, you've actually got to see the space where we're going to do, I guess we're going to try to do you wrong, man. We've got the roast of Bruce Prichard.
Yeah, I don't know what you've got planned. It hurts my feelings that you would want to roast me in public, if you will.
Yeah, we've pulled out all the big guns. I was sharing some of the guest list for the roast over the weekend. And
well, how about telling me?
No, it needs to be a surprise. And let me tell you this, here's a bit of a spoiler. Some of the names we can't advertise. Hopefully you're picking up what I'm putting down. StarCast.com, Labor Day weekend. Check it out.
I think we should advertise all of them, Conrad. Tell me right now. Let's go ahead and do it.
Well, if we do, then some of it's canceled. You know what I mean?
Wait a minute. You're saying that these guests are so big and so powerful that you can't advertise them?
I'm saying somebody might pull them. Yeah. I'm saying I wouldn't put it past them. You know what I mean? Enough said there. But how about this? I do want to brag about this. We're announcing the Boston show next week. You had a conversation with the venue. We finally locked down a venue. We're working out ticketing over the next week. So next week, right here on Something to Wrestle, we're going to announce the on-sale date. I think we could probably even give a spoiler. They're going on sale next weekend, right, Bruce?
Yes, they are. They are going to be going on sale 1 week from today if you are listening to this on Friday. So, listen up.
Don't miss it. And in the meantime, pick up your tickets and come see us in Rochester. We're going to be there right at the very beginning of July. We're also going to be in Pittsburgh. If you wanted to come see us, too bad.
Too bad. It's sold out.
We're sold out. Rochester's going to sell out too. Hurry on over to BrucePrichard.com and pick up your tickets there. Of course, we're coming back to our home away from home, New York City. Gramercy Theater, SummerSlam weekend. It's now a SummerSlam tradition. Come join us. Last year we did 2 shows. We're only doing 1 show. I got stuff going on. I can't stay for 2. So 1 is it, man. Come see us. There will not be a second show announced at Gramercy. Snatch those tickets right now at BrucePrichard.com. San Antonio, also on sale September 15th. Nashville, we'd love to see you on the 30th, but too bad. We're sold out. And then as we get on into October, we're coming to see you, Los Angeles. Those tickets are on sale now. And of course, I'm really excited about this. Boston next week. Don't miss it. And we didn't forget about you, Royal Rumble. We're heading your way, Phoenix. Stand Up Live, one of our biggest venues ever. We're going to have a blast because it's going to be a relatively early show because of that West Coast time. So make plans to join us that afternoon of the Royal Rumble. And by the way, we're like a block. I'm talking about a block from the stadium where Royal Rumble is happening. Let's get right into it. Let's do it right now, man. Let's talk about Sable. And I'm excited to talk about this one, Bruce. And I feel like this is going to be a little bit of a sleeper episode. I've had her on the poll before and she never won. And I understand that guys just vote for their favorites. And man, thank you for listening. But this is one of those deals where because of the lawsuit and because of how she came in and the superstardom she achieved and who she's with now, there's just so much meat on the bone here. And I'm excited to talk about it. Let's start from the beginning. Of course, Sable was born Rena, and now, of course, she's Rena Lesnar. And she started modeling way back in the early 90s. She did some stuff for like Guess and L'Oreal and Pepsi. And she sort of becomes an accidental superstar with you guys. Of course, Marc Mero is her husband, and he had made a name for himself in WCW's Johnny B. Bad. Well, he quits WCW and has an opportunity to go join the WWF. I don't know when we'll talk about Marc Mero jumping tell us about how Marc Mero's transition from Johnny B. Bad with WCW to the wild man Marc Mero came to be.
Well, Marc Mero, let's talk about Johnny B. Bad, the character Johnny B. Bad first in WCW. It was a creation of the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, who looked at this man and said, "You're looking awful lot like Little Richard there, baby. Maybe I'll make something out of you," and became Johnny B. Bad. Extremely charismatic, had a great look, he just had that charisma, man, that unspoken, just animal magnetism. He really and truly did as Johnny B. Bad. Wore the makeup, looked good. Then that damn bell had to ring. But Vince didn't really care that much about that. He felt that the charisma and the look, he felt that there was something there in that guy and really felt that he could get something out of the guy that played Johnny B. Bad. And Vince was more enamored with Johnny B. Bad than Marc Mero.
So when the deal comes together, tell me how the courting process works, because we've always heard, like, when Vince really wanted somebody, he'd sort of roll out the red carpet. He would fly you up first class, pick you up in a limo, take you to the finest dining establishments, get you great box seats at a Broadway show, and just the whole deal. Did that courting process exist for Marc Mero and Rena at the same time?
Well, he brought Marc Mero up, the idea behind that is show the guys the machine, to let them see the machine behind that's going to get behind you. And Mero came up and he brought his wife Sable up, Rena, to come to the meeting. And Vince, like I said, he kept seeing Johnny B. Bad. He fell in love with Marc Mero. He liked Marc Mero. Marc's a personable guy. And as they started talking more and more and going over all of these things, I think Vince was almost at a loss because of the infatuation that he had with the character that he had seen on television. We just, went back and forth and went back and forth with a lot of different gimmicks, as we've talked about before. Marco,
Mero,
and Prodigy was the big thing at the time on the internet. I don't even think the internet had been invented yet, but Prodigy was a big thing. And Marc had a page on there and would talk to the fans and try to get feedback that way, and did a lot in that regard to garner people's opinions on what they felt he should do in the WWE. Eventually, we just decided on Marc Mero, man, and he's going to be, the wild man. But Vince, in the meeting, while Rena was there, took one look at Rena and said, "Why don't we have her on camera? My God, why aren't you in the business?"
Let me ask you this before you keep going. There's rumor and innuendo out there that Mero sort of burns a bridge with WCW because he's not signing the new contract extension that Bischoff wants. And I'm sure we'll talk about this one day on 83 Weeks with Eric Bischoff, 83weeks.com. But allegedly, Mark sort of stonewalls him and says, "No, I'm not doing that. I'm not signing that." And Bischoff realizes, okay, he's out of here. So just go ahead and put over Luger tonight. Mero didn't want to do that. So he says, "All right, you're out of here." And Mero tries to say, "Well, I hope I'm leaving on good terms after I've been here so long." And Bischoff shuts it down and says, "No, you're not leaving on good terms at all." When you guys are actually meeting with Mero face to face, do you know that he's burned that WCW bridge, or has that not come out yet?
No, not necessarily. As a matter of fact, Vince has always encouraged guys not to burn bridges,
right?
To do business on the way out. So I don't remember that part of it ever coming out, other than they were offering him a contract extension, and it was Mero looking to see what was on the other side.
Allegedly, too, here, the contract that you guys offer is really one of the very first guaranteed contracts that Vince McMahon wrote. And he's thinking he has to do this based on all the stuff that's going on with the wrestlers going back and forth. Can you speak to the rumor and innuendo that Mero was actually one of the first guaranteed, like downside guarantee contracts that Vince McMahon wrote?
Yeah, Mero was one of the first downside guarantees that we ever did. And it was the changing of the time.
It's the industry, not the performer.
Correct.
But it's still just amazing. It's what an interesting little piece of trivia that he was really one of the first guys. Yeah. Now, I want to talk a little bit about Rena, because you said that, why don't you go? You're a star.
Why aren't you on television?
Right.
God.
Well, allegedly, again, this is all rumor and innuendo because so much of this has come out, some from Sable, some from Mero, some from other sources, and we're trying to piece it all together here. Do you believe there was some sort of contract in place or some sort of stipulation for Marc Mero that he would not travel without Rena? Because that's what I've read, that the original agreement was, if you're going to bring me in while we're talking about the money, I need you to fly Rena too, because I need her with me. And I don't know where that comes from. But maybe is that when Vince sort of says, well, goddamn, pal, if she's going to be with you, let's put her on TV.
No.
Okay. So that didn't happen as far as you know.
No, that didn't happen. I was in on all of those original creative meetings, where Vince looked at Rena and said, why the hell isn't she on TV? And then he pitched it, but it was trying to do something with the pair. And also the feeling that as Johnny B. Bad, there was all that charisma. And Marc Mero, I'm not sure that Vince was completely sold on Mero and felt maybe he needed something extra.
Right. Well, what's funny is, and you've said this a lot here on the show, that guys sort of hear what they want to hear. And Marc Mero has often said that, well, I was told I was going to get a title run. And you're probably going to say, Vince probably in the meeting when he's trying to sign him says, I could see you as our champion. He didn't say, and you're going to beat Diesel on March 17th in the Garden, right?
Correct.
Okay.
No, Vince never said that. Again, that's guys hear what they want to hear. Vince said to me, talking about Johnny B. Bad one time, God damn, I can see him as our champion.
Sure.
But
in fairness, I know this sounds ridiculous from what we're about to say. Marc Mero was in great shape. He looked like a star.
Yeah.
And he presented like a star, even if it was with the silly gimmick. If you strip all that gimmick away, he's a Golden Gloves boxer. He looks like he's in phenomenal shape. He just presents in a major way. And it is sort of interesting. Yeah. He just he has an interesting look. He's not John Cena. I'm not saying John Cena doesn't have an interesting look, but I'm saying Marc Mero could be whatever you needed him to be. Right. He was versatile.
yeah, he looked great. He had it. And plus he had Marc Mero, his personality matched that. And he had a larger than life personality as well. So Vince really felt that he could turn that into money.
Is it any surprise to you to see that Marc Mero's gone down like the motivational speaker path in recent years? Yeah.
No, not at all.
Anybody who knows him, I don't think, I think everybody saw that coming. Let's talk a little bit about their debut. Of course, they both make their television debuts, as random as this sounds, at WrestleMania 12, which I believe is on the eve of your wedding, right?
Yes, it was, as a matter of fact. Anaheim, California.
That's also the first time we see the debut of Sable. At the time, Hunter Hearst Helmsley was doing a gimmick where he would be escorted to the ring by a different beautiful woman for each of his matches. And oddly enough, she actually escorts him to the ring that night at WrestleMania 12. How did that come to be? Just right place, right time. Hey, we need a good looking girl and woo, you'll qualify.
Well, we knew that the very first Triple H and Mero had worked together in WCW. I don't know that there was anybody that was really singing the praises of Mark's in-ring work.
Right.
Feeling was he needed to be in there with somebody that could lead him and get the best matches out of him and put him in the best light possible, which is why we had picked Hunter. So the idea behind having Sable be one of the models that went out with Triple H, and then later on, you have the confrontation with Triple H and Mero right after. And then the model that was out with Triple H starts coming out with Marc Mero. And now you've got your ready-made angle.
So, of course, we have a bit of a situation where these guys are going to have words at WrestleMania. And then right away, they're working together. Mero makes his debut the next night on Raw, pinning Isaac Yankem, who's now Kane, of course.
Soon to be mayor of Johnson City, Tennessee.
I think it's the Tri-Cities, like we call it Knox County or whatever. So there you go. Sable is ringside cheering for Mero. And when Helmsley tries to take her away from ringside, she slaps him and leaves with Mero. Obviously at this point, nobody really knew what Sable was going to be, but you guys did sort of sketch her some gear. I don't think she just showed up in the black pleather bodysuit. Is that creative services or is that just something out of her personal wardrobe?
I think that was their Tuesday outfit.
Yeah, right.
No, Mero and Sable had put quite a bit of thought into their look and their presentation. So it was something that she had worked with creative services and put together to complement Mark.
So tell me about, the whip and her like sort of clawing, like making a claw motion towards her eyes. Is that all Vince McMahon sort of coaching her through how to do that? Or is she just freestyling something she could do to sort of accompany the quote unquote wild man?
So much of that was them freestyling and trying to find this character. And Mero would do what I called the Batman dance, with the, the fingers and the eyes.
Sure.
And stuff. So I think they were just trying to find their way and trying to find their character and an identity.
So on September 23rd, Marc Mero beats Farouk in a tournament final to win the vacant Intercontinental Championship. And at the end of the match, we see the first and maybe one of the only physical confrontations between Sable and Sonny. Sonny, of course, was managing Farouk, and they slap each other here, which is kind of funny if you think about the relationship they're going to have in the future. Eventually Mero winds up losing that title to Hunter Hearst Helmsley on Raw. And it's the first of what would be many singles titles for the game. At this time, and we can't help but talk about Marc Mero here, it does feel like you guys are sort of out of the chute, hot and heavy on Marc Mero. 6 months in, are you already starting to lose confidence a little bit? Does Vince realize, God damn it, I wanted Johnny to be bad and I got fucking Marc Mero?
I think that, well, they put that for Jim Cornette and I, who were doing a lot of the creative at the time, it was putting that square peg in the round hole.
Right.
And it wasn't delivering on the wrestling side, but Vince was determined, man. He felt that he had a hell of a good looking package there, and he was going to push it to the moon. He thought that there was something there, and it was up to us to get it out of him.
Let me ask you about physicality with Sable, because, she does do nominal stuff here. We just mentioned she had a little slap deal with Sonny, but somewhere in this era, she's with Mero during a house show when Mero's taking on the Undertaker, and the Undertaker is on the floor. She kicks him, and then he gets up and choke slams her. And of course, we never saw that on TV, but everybody at the house show says, oh, this is what happened. What's the protocol? Not necessarily of, violence against women, because that happens a lot in independence now and things like that. I'm saying specifically, like, this is a non-wrestler. This is a beauty model. This is a guy's wife. And now we're going to choke slam her. And she's really not got any wrestling experience. Do you remember there being a conversation about shoulda, woulda, coulda on that?
No, I don't. And if it happened at a house show, it may have just been a spot that they put in at the last minute. But having the Undertaker choke slam you, if there was anybody on the roster at any time, I would have Undertaker. I would trust him choke slamming, my dog, Dodger, the official dog of Something to Wrestle With. But that's really a non-issue too, because I'm sure the Taker would have floated her down, taking complete care of her.
Two things we got to run through there. The name of the show is Something to Wrestle
With Bruce Prichard.
Yes, but you just said Something to Wrestle With.
Yeah, Bruce Prichard.
We'll say it all the way, or just say Something to Wrestle.
The official dog of Something to Wrestle With Bruce Prichard is Dodger.
See, that's the second thing. Dodger is not the official dog.
There's pictures to prove it.
Ginger is the official Something to Wrestle dog. We've been talking about this all week this week, and I think we're going to have to put a poll.
Ginger's a good dog.
No, can we agree on this? That, I'm the host and you're the guest.
I'm the permanent guest.
So I should technically pick, but here's what I'm willing to do. I'm willing to give up my chairman of the board vote.
How about we compromise?
Let's put it to a fucking vote.
Dodger's the male and Ginger's the female.
I'm fine with
the
that.
King and queen.
Oh, so you're scared. You're saying you don't want the fans to vote?
No, I'm not scared. I don't want Ginger to feel bad, because I like Ginger.
Ginger doesn't read.
Yes, she does.
No, she doesn't. She's not on Twitter.
Yes, she
Although I'm sure somebody right now just started a Twitter account. So at the Final Four pay-per-view in February, Mero beats Al Snow. But what's notable here is Sable shows up with sunglasses, a new hairstyle, and a more aggressive attitude and a different outfit that basically looks like Pam Anderson in the movie Barbed Wire. Do you remember there being a conscious effort to sort of change her look, and who's the driving force behind that?
No, a lot of that was actually Rena herself and Marc Mero that were constantly trying to change the look and stay fresh and just continually evolving.
By the way, Barbed Wire, if you're not familiar, is a Pamela Anderson movie that made like less than $4 million and cost $23 million to make. So you probably haven't seen it, but,
Probably heard of it.
Roll Tide. Yeah. So not too long after this match, Mero has just horrible luck here, winds up tearing his ACL. And this essentially leaves an opportunity for Sable to do something. And we see her at the Slammy Awards before WrestleMania 13, where she's in a bikini contest. And wow, is she in a bikini contest? She winds up being named Miss Slammy later in the show. And it starts to feel like she's getting a major push. Now, this is on the heels of Sunny being announced as the most downloaded celebrity in AOL or whatever, the accolade was. But Sunny was really like the focus of all women in WWF. But it feels like after WrestleMania 13, some of that started to change, did it not?
Yeah, Sable was getting over. And the audience was responding to her. It's a new, everybody likes ice cream. Some people like chocolate, some people like vanilla. And here was a brand new flavor. And if you liked ice cream, you're going to love this. So Sable was brand new, and she was overtaking that crown of the top diva as far as the women goes. And Sunny the year before was most downloaded, as you said, in AOL. And then all of a sudden, we put it out there. It wasn't a push. It was the audience pushing us. And it was the audience saying, we want more Sable. So it was their response and their reaction that actually made everybody kind of sit up and take notice. And when they put it out, to the fan vote, Sable won.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Sable won. And of course, with Mero on the sidelines, you're looking for something for her to do. So she starts doing t-shirt spots on Raw, which sounds sort of silly, but how masterful is this? You've got the hottest lady in all of wrestling wearing some of the hottest shirts at a time when you're really trying to sell merchandise. Revenue is sort of hit or miss. You're playing catch up ball. So if you can sell some more merchandise, man, it's a win. So you guys have her strut that ass out there wearing a shirt like an Austin 316. And then of course you're giving the number where you can order the shirt. These shirts are flying off the shelves here, are they not?
Well, yeah. And the philosophy behind it is, do you want to look at a Barry Dudinsky or a prepackaged commercial selling you merchandise? Or do you want to look at a beautiful woman walking down the ramp wearing the merchandise? You're not going to go click and you're going to say, hey, we're going to get one of those.
No doubt about it. I mean, listen, I get it. It makes total sense to me. Let's talk about May 19th, because this is kind of a big deal. Austin, that's right, Stone Cold Steve Austin is looking for a tag team partner. And at first he asked Sable as she's going into her dressing room while she didn't have her top on. And she has to put an Austin shirt on to cover her chest. And there's a huge pop here for this. Is it so obvious to you guys that by the summer of 97, she's clearly the top female star? I mean, it certainly feels that way. And all she's doing is selling t-shirts.
Yeah.
It's amazing when you think about it. Sunny has been involved in all these matches and cut all these promos and done all these heel antics. Sable's just strutting around in t-shirts and people are all about it.
Well, and she wasn't sharing the spotlight with anyone. All of a sudden the spotlight was on her and not Marc Mero. And she was and Sable. It was Sable.
On June 9th, we see a couple of short segments on Raw. That's really just to show you the tension between Sable and Mero. And Mero is essentially upset at the way that Sable has been strutting around. Now, this is all just for television. At this point, Mero and Sable are good as far as you know?
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
Towards the end of Raw, or the end of June rather, Meltzer would write, Sable did an interview in a low cut top revealing yet another boob job. Marc Mero blocked the cameras, acting like an overly jealous boyfriend. So this is going to be unfortunate because I'm a Dave Meltzer guy, but Dave Meltzer is just made, Sable's life miserable. He buries her for the entire show here about the way she looks and her physical appearance, her age, her breast implants. Can you clear up the rumor and innuendo here? In your opinion, to the best of your recollection, in the summer of 97, had she gotten another breast enhancement, or are these the same gimmicks she's had the entire run?
Believe it or not, Conrad, with very few exceptions, I didn't keep up with the number of boob jobs that people had, like Dave Meltzer is apparently infatuated with.
Here's what I'm saying though. I don't think we're breaking any trade secrets here. And I realize she's bumping, so it's a different deal. Charlotte just had a breast implant situation handled. So it's going to be obvious by what she's doing or not doing that she's had something done. And there's another lady on the roster recently that a lot of our male listeners have probably noticed. Oh, hey, we got some +2s. In your opinion here, this didn't happen.
No, it probably did happen. She probably did. She had several surgeries during her time there. She had enhancements. She also had reductions during the time, that's the other thing that's funny when Dave, talk about at one point when she had a reduction, and Dave talked about that she had another boob job, insinuating to make them bigger when she was actually making them smaller.
Let's talk about Marc Mero. In August, he gets really bad news. Dr. James Andrews says, hey, you've been training so hard to rehab your knee. You've actually hurt it worse. You've overtrained it and you can come back, but when you come back, you're going to have to wear a heavy brace from now on. Is this just not a sign of things to come for Marc Mero here? Well, I mean, the news goes from bad to worse.
I use this as an example with guys all the time when they get injured, and a lot of the boys especially will want to speed up the recovery time. And God, I want to get back to work, faster. The doctor says 6 months. I'll be back in 3 months. And that's what Marc was trying to do. And Marc was actually increasing his training and doing a lot of different things. But he increased his training so much that he actually did more damage than he did good. And when you're rehabbing something like that, you have to do it slowly to allow everything to reattach and regrow and do what you have to do properly. And that's what happened. Instead of being out 6 months, now he's out 9 months or whatever the hell it was. But it was a detriment. And that's a lesson for everybody to learn, man, just do what the doctor tells you to do and don't rush it.
He comes back on October 6th. He's got a new look here, a buzz cut, and he's dressed like a boxer, which of course, as we mentioned, he was when he was much younger. On October 20th, he wins with the TKO. He gets a win over Brian Christopher, and that's basically a variation of a diamond cutter. Not as cool, at least to me, but either way, he gets a win here. And during the match, Jerry Lawler put on a Steve Austin hat on Sable. Mero sees it and throws the hat in the crowd and yells at Sable. Is there any hint of, hey, maybe we will have Mero have a feud with Austin and put Sable in the middle here? Or was this just simply a play off of the merchandise to show the jealousy?
Merchandise and jealousy.
Okay. On November 3rd, we see a Mad Mero going into Sable's dressing room where she didn't have her top on yet and dragging her out with her hands basically covering up her boobs. And this is a theme that we start to see where, we've probably heard it 3 or 4 times now. It's all about Sable's boobs. November 11th, Meltzer would write that Lawler beat Mero by DQ when Sable interfered. And the story here is that Sable has a legit black eye from being kicked by her horse. And of course,
her mother's. Oh, wait a minute. Sorry,
yeah, different thing.
Okay.
Meltzer makes it clear in the Observer, quote, they are selling both horses, which I think is hilarious. Anyway, her glasses come off in this skit. And the idea is to give the illusion to the crowd that Mero had actually punched her. But due to second thoughts in the commentary, they changed the angle to just saying the truth, that it was the horse and no insinuation that Mero did it. Do you remember Rena showing up with a black eye and somebody saying, well, we could go with it?
We knew it ahead of time because she actually was concerned about going to TV at all because of her eye being all bashed up and thinking, well, I'm not going to do anything. So Vince was like, well, make a story out of it. And you kind of look at the battered woman thing, and we've done it to death, unfortunately, but thought better of it after the fact.
Along the way here, or in this era, Meltzer wrote this in the Observer. Vince McMahon should sign Sable's breast to a long-term contract, because they spend more time trying to get them over than they do wrestlers like Taka Michinoku and Brian Christopher. Which set of those boobs did you prefer, Bruce?
Taka or Brian? Brian's were bigger.
Well, I meant Taka and Brian versus Sable's, but Roll Tide, what do you make of the criticism here? I do think it's a fair criticism. It does feel like her boobs were highlighted in every single Raw.
Well,
is this a Vince Russoism? Is it a McMahonism? Are you just listening to the crowd? I mean, it feels like to me, if I had to pinpoint it, because if we know anything about Vince McMahon, it's that almost all of his decisions are financial decisions. When those boobs got stuffed into an Austin 316 shirt, those boobs were made boobs. Made boobs. Is that a t-shirt we can sell?
Boobs.
At Bruce? Well, I want to say made man, but I mean, that's not the case. I think made boobs, man-made boobs.
Ooh.
Man-made boobs or either we're doing boob shirts over at brucepritchard.com. Tell everybody about brucepritchard.com. It feels like it's been a while since we talked about that.
Well, yeah, that's back when I used to be over. You get yourself an I used to be over shirt over at brucepritchard.com and get these shirts, which is now becoming one of my favorite shirts of all time. It's got my nice little picture on there. Get these shirts. And King of Sandwiches. Gotta love him. You gotta love him.
I can't believe that we actually have that. I really hope Harley Race never actually sees that, because I feel like even though he's not in the best health, he might still stretch our ass.
Yeah, and you get yourself a nice little Duke fanny pack, and soon, very soon, coming soon, we're gonna have us some Duke beanies as well, coming very soon to brucepritchard.com.
Don't miss it. Lots of fun stuff in there. I think my favorite lately is No Yob. I got to see a few people wearing it over the weekend, and I kind of forgot how great that shirt is. So pick up a shirt, brucepritchard.com, and when you do, eventually Bruce will call and thank you. So let's talk about the November 27th Raw tapings. Cornette is interviewing Mero and Sable, and there's a lot of heat here. Mero is yelling at Sable, and she's trying to cry, and Mero tells her to leave. Jim Cornette has been pretty outspoken about his dislike for Sable. What do you remember about this angle? And what do you remember your conversations being like about Sable with Jim Cornette during this time?
Jim Cornette hated Sable being with Marc Mero. He's a fucking heel if he's got a good looking chick with him. What the fuck are we doing? He can't be a babyface if he's got a good looking chick with him. Motherfucker. So Corny didn't understand the psychology of the whole Randy, Macho Man Savage, and Elizabeth thing that worked, and so on and so forth. He felt that beautiful women have to be heels. And if you put a beautiful woman with a guy, then he's automatically going to be a heel. So he just hated it out of the get-go. And he didn't feel that, he didn't get that passion from Sable about wanting to be in the wrestling business. She was there because of her husband. It was helping her husband. It was helping her family. It wasn't a long desire as a little girl that she wanted to be on a wrestling show. So this was all new to her, but she was making money and she was getting over. So let's go with it.
Later in that same show, Dude Love is taking on Marc Mero, and Mero DQs him for the low blow. And when it's over, Sable leaves with Dude, and then Dude does an interview and asks Sable to give him a big wet one. So Mero comes out and attacks Dude, and Dude gives him the double arm DDT, and Sable leaves with him arm in arm. Is there any sort of, there is like a cliche about bringing your wife into wrestling, smarten everybody up.
Well, not really a good idea, especially with the track record of guys that have brought their wives into wrestling. Usually leads, unfortunately, to broken marriages. It's one thing to work with your wife or live with your wife, but then when you're doing both, working with them and living with them, you're around them 24. There's no break. And I think that any good relationship needs that break. And it's a recipe for disaster, in my opinion.
Ah, man. You know what's coming. Along the way, though, she does have some other opportunities. She was actually a ring card girl for the Oscar de la Hoya boxing match. It was on pay-per-view, and Butterbean was actually on the undercard. And there was rumor and innuendo that they might try to put together a piece of business here at this pay-per-view with Mero sort of jaw-jacking with Butterbean. even though Butterbean was only coming in for a one-time deal at the time. What do you remember about how her being a ring card girl came to be?
Well, it was part of the whole Butterbean scenario. And with Bean coming in, we knew we were going to do the bit with Marc Mero and Butterbean. So the opportunity to have Sable on the card and be this special guest celebrity ring card girl. It also was an Oscar de la Hoya promotion, and Oscar and Vince go way back. They're good friends. And it was a layup because it was something that gave us exposure and also kind of helped kickstart the Marc Mero Butterbean issue. The
next day, of course, is In Your House DX, December 7th, 1997. We'd see Butterbean beat Marc Mero by DQ in what was billed as a 4-round tough man contest. And of course, Mero loses for another low blow. We'll talk about that another time. The next night on Raw, though, Mero's doing his interview with Sal Sincere, and Sable comes out wearing a potato sack. And this, as a kid, I still remember this very well as an adult. She took this potato sack off, and underneath was a tiny swimsuit, and Mero freaks out and starts to drag her to the back, and he gets counted out of a match that never even really got started. And the next week on Raw, Mero beats Scott Taylor. He has Sable come out here in a reindeer outfit, but again, she takes it off, revealing very little, and Mero freaks out. And this is getting over to an insane degree, to the point that Meltzer wrote that whenever they're on the house show loop, Sable's getting a bigger pop than the Undertaker. Whose idea was this? Mero doesn't want her to reveal herself, but she does anyway gimmick. And did you guys realize at this point, she has far surpassed Mero?
Well, she had far surpassed Mero pretty damn early on, but the idea behind it was we were trying to use this as an avenue to help get Mero over. Because if he's stopping the one thing that they wanted to see, and they wanted to see more of Sable in less clothing, and if Mero is going out and trying to stop that, man, you know what? Maybe that's the heat that Mero needs to get over. So it was that double-edged sword. You take the female that's over, and you get the other guy over.
Well, let's talk about what you guys did next with her. On the December 29th Raw, she comes out pushing the new swimsuit issue of the Raw magazine. Mero comes out and does a promo on her. And then he gives the announcer, Kevin Kelly, a low blow until Tom Brandi makes the save. Mero lays him out with a TKO and then stuffs photos of Sable from the magazine into his mouth and trunks. Is this a genius way to sell magazines or what, Bruce?
Fuck yeah, and it did too. It worked. One of the top selling Raw magazines of all time.
Meltzer even wrote, considering how flat Mero was when he returned, it's a real credit to the booking coming up with this idea that's getting him over. They would continue to work this angle for months, and you know what we're leading to. It's WrestleMania, but on the way there, something interesting happens. On January 5th, Mero beats Brandi by DQ, and Sable is working a leg injury here and has to be helped to the back. And eventually, Mero has an opportunity to get the TKO on Brandi, but before he can cover him, Austin comes out of the crowd from nowhere and gives Mero a stunner. What's the thinking here?
Pop for Steve.
It's just interesting that you realize here's our top male star. Here's our top female star. At this point, there's still no plans to do anything.
No.
Okay.
Well, and here's the reason is you didn't want to put them together because now you're separating and you're making, you're sharing that spotlight. So you can have them equally go up and you're putting the spotlight, but when you put them on at the same time, you're sharing that spotlight. So it's a pop. It's easy. Boom. It's in, it's out. But to do any more than that would be counterproductive.
The next couple of weeks are kind of fun. Marc Mero comes out with Goldust on January 12th, and Goldust is dressed as Sable. Sable comes out and starts yelling at Goldust for stealing her gimmick. The next week, Mero pins Brandi after a low blow again, but during the match, and this is the real story, Sable gets flowers at ringside. Mero's all over her for it and ends up shoving the flowers down Brandi's throat. But on February 9th, this is where we get some more Meltzer commentary. He wrote, Thrasher beat Goldust in 4 minutes and 28 seconds, and when the person CBS called the world's most dangerous boob job, Sable slapped Goldust. Sable and Luna were arguing, you can only imagine over what, with Sable slapping Luna before she stormed off, probably to get another breast enlargement. I think it's something like the old nuclear arms race where we all have enough bombs to blow up the world 15 times. Your comments?
So does Meltzer have something against beautiful women with large boobs? Because to me, it sounds like he does, that he doesn't like that. So enough said, I guess. That's the only thing I hear from him.
So let's talk about No Way Out 1998. This is where we see the Headbangers beat Mero and Goldust. Sable and Luna are about to go at it when Mero orders Sable to go to the back. Mero eventually, of course, can't keep her there. She comes storming down the aisle, and Mero jumps out of the ring to keep her from going after Luna, and there's a big pull apart. Eventually, Mero and Sable are arguing in the ring until Sable shoves Mero down. So obviously by No Way Out, you guys know what the plan is going to be. Talk me through how Sable becomes the most accidental wrestler of all time at WrestleMania.
God damn, you got to get it in the ring somehow. Things just evolve. And there has to be, in everything, at least in my opinion, and I think for most people in the wrestling, there has to be a payoff. And you work to the payoff, and you try to work backwards from what that big payoff is going to be. And it was just a natural progression. Can we get her in the ring? She wasn't a wrestler. She wasn't trained to be a wrestler. But the thought of possibly getting a match out of her, that was an attraction for the first time for people to see her in the ring.
So on our way here, we get the February 21st Raw, and Jerry Lawler is interviewing Marc Mero and Sable, and it's probably bound to happen. But the fans starting to show your tits chant. And this is pretty common in ECW, but not necessarily in the WWF. Does anybody have a big reaction when fans are chanting, show your tits?
Oh boy. You know, regardless of what people think, no, that wasn't the reaction that we wanted. And it's kind of a, what are they saying? Show your bits. What the, oh, God damn it. Yeah, you try and downplay it and just ignore it and hope that it goes away.
So let's talk a little bit about how we got here, because I feel like, you know, her wrestling is something that you guys had to really work at. Who's she training with? What's that process look like on a daily basis? Because it feels like something you don't just wait until you're a week out and teach her how.
No, it was something that her and Mark were working on, and Mark was going to train her, and Mark was taking her, and they went to a ring locally. And on their off days, they went in the ring. They got to the shows early and worked out in the ring as well. But it was Mark that was in charge of the training and putting her through her paces and teaching her how to bump and to be safe in the ring. But there wasn't any, she didn't go to school. She didn't go to a wrestling school for any length of time to learn how to work.
It's kind of interesting that you guys sort of teased the idea or flirted with the idea of using her black eye to insinuate violence from Mero onto her. But yet you are having her push him down pretty routinely. Does anybody in the back, any of the old timers, because I know like there's some old school wrestlers who really hate the old Ric Flair referee spot where he pushes the referee and the ref pushes him back and he takes a bump. I know a lot of old timers hate that. Is there anybody, an agent perhaps, who's in Mero's ear about, you can't take a bump from a woman?
I don't know that there were, I know Jim Cornette hated it, and I know that some of the boys definitely hated it because they felt that, how in the hell do I go out and sell for this guy now when he's getting beat up by a woman? I think Pat Patterson, was probably one of the old timers that said it best. It's entertainment. And if it gets a pop and you can entertain people, it's not real. She's not really beating him up. It's entertainment. We're telling a story. And if it fits in the story and it's entertaining, then go with it.
So let's talk about, and I'm interested to hear your take on this, because Meltzer reports that on our build to WrestleMania, there's a spot in a Luna Sable brawl. I'll just read it directly from the Observer, where Sable popped out of her top. It was edited off television, but apparently people who saw the live show as it happened did see it, and it's become a hot item on the internet because it was transported back to Connecticut via the KU band satellite. Quote, we've been told it was an accident, but those who have seen frame by frame of it claim you can clearly see it was not.
Huh. So what does that mean?
Well, I think he's talking about they did a work to work her boobs. I don't know.
No, that's complete bullshit and completely false. And Dave Meltzer and anybody else who says that has absolutely zero to back that up or even say that. That's just absurd. That's somebody that's a conspiracy theory. Let's make up something because of these evil fucks in Stanford. Completely 100% false.
All right. On the March 23rd Raw, Meltzer wrote, Vince Russo, using that name and not Vic Venom playing a character, gave Sable a plaque for supposedly selling the most magazines of any issue in history. Luna came out and clocked her with the plaque, which broke in several pieces, and then ripped up Sable's dress. Luckily, Russo gallantly, sloppily tried to cover up Sable's underwear and did such a good job that we kept getting shots of it. So this is the January 98 Raw magazine. It had two different covers, Sable and Sunny on the cover, and they say it's the best selling magazine in history. Is that for real?
Yeah, it actually was, man. It did tremendous because people wanted both covers.
Right.
And so you're not just selling one magazine, man. You're selling two.
Is that a Vince Russo idea?
Actually, I think it was.
It's amazing. Good for him. Because it was his idea, does he say, boss, let me go in there. Let me cover her up?
No, he was the actual editor of the magazine, bro. I will present her with the magazine.
But I mean, he had to be pretty excited about this being on TV. He hadn't been on TV a lot here. He had those spots on LimeWire. Livewire. Sorry.
They're kind of like a twat list.
No, that's actually, believe it or not, that was a real software that people used to use to like download your shit illegally.
Really?
Yeah. It was LimeWire, but really you're thinking of Livewire, Bristol, Connecticut. Right.
Yes.
So chat me up here though. I mean, is he nervous? Is he excited? What do you remember about Vince Russo being on TV here?
Bro. Nah, of course he was excited, man. He was happy to be on there and be on Raw. Shit. That's a big deal.
Let's talk about WrestleMania 14. Of course, we covered this on our WWE Network show, which is available Wednesdays on the WWE Network. Of course, Marc Mero's teaming with Sable here to take on Goldust and Luna, and it gets 3 stars, believe it or not, which I think is pretty amazing when you think about it, especially when you consider as far as Sable's actually wrestling matches go. What number was this for her?
1.
I mean, really process that. You're making your debut in wrestling at WrestleMania and you get 3 stars. I mean, pretty good.
Well, if it would have been in the Tokyo Dome and Kenny Omega was the referee, it would have been like 14 stars.
Well,
right?
Listen, we're not going to do much more of that on here. Okay. In the Observer fan poll for this show.
Wait a minute, you just said we're not going to do any more of that in the Observer fan poll. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you shitting on.
Oh, fuck him. I'm shitting on him through this whole
No,
show.
but it sounds like you're shitting on Kenny Omega, and I won't let you disparage the good goddamn name of Kenny Omega.
I'm not
here.
shitting on Kenny Omega. I've never met the man. I like his work.
Okay. Thank you. So in the Observer fan poll, it was voted the second best match on the card. That's shocking to you, considering that Meltzer has just shit all over Sable, and we've covered this on Goldust. He hated Goldust.
Yeah, all the talent that gets over in spite of his little philosophies. So obviously he doesn't like androgynous people or beautiful women with big boobs.
Okay. Allegedly, Luna was threatened with getting fired if she hurt Sable. Can you speak to that? I mean, I know they weren't best of friends backstage. What do you remember about this?
I don't think she was threatened with being fired. I'm sure she was told to be careful with her because she wasn't an athlete and she wasn't a wrestler. So it's like, Luna, be careful out there because she doesn't instinctively know what the hell to do. Luna was a second generation wrestler and she grew up in the wrestling business. So she was tougher than half the guys and she just had to have a different mindset and a different philosophy going into the match. Luna, be careful.
Well, let's talk about the famous April 13th Raw. Luna comes out and challenges Sable, and then Goldust comes out dressed as Sable, and Luna rips Goldust's dress off, leaving him there in women's underwear. Sable comes out and they begin ripping at each other. And then later in the show, she does an interview saying she doesn't care if she gets all of her clothes torn off as long as she gets a hold of Luna. That's a Vince Russo line if there ever was one, isn't it?
You damn right. Come on out. She's going to get naked if she has to. That's naked. That's Nekid. Naked.
Ass naked with shoes. I think it should be a shirt. So the April 27th Observer tells us that on the April 16th house show in Hershey, Sable is accidentally stepped on by referee Tim White, and her toe was broken in 3 places, and she misses the rest of the weekend. What do you remember about Tim White in between lunchtime suicides, ruining the company's golden goose?
Clumsy motherfucker. Just a complete accident. And it's one of those, well, fuck. Tape it up. Let's go. That was our original thought. Just put a little tape around, tape the big toe to that middle toe, and you'll be fine.
Well, let's talk about Unforgiven. April 26th, Greensboro, North Carolina, does a huge amount of business, giant record. But what everybody's talking about is Luna and Sable in a stripper match. Sable gets a huge pop coming out, and JR even says on commentary, you'd think Ric Flair just walked out.
That was bigger than that.
And hey, calm down. With Sable injured and really probably not wanting to expose that her WrestleMania stuff was a carefully crafted match that was a mixed tag.
Yeah, neither did we.
They have to do some interesting stuff here. So they start ripping at clothes, and we see some panties. And then Marc Mero shows up and begins arguing with Sable, allowing Luna to come from behind and rip the rest of Sable's dress off. That leaves her in her bra, and that ends the match. Here's the line from Meltzer. Without the ridiculous boob job, Sable has a phenomenal body for her age, but with it, she looks like just another aging low-rent stripper, but through the magic of being on high-profile television show, she is a star. Sable ended up powerbombing Luna again and ripping her dress off, and the two wound up under the ring. Sable then came out holding Luna's bra and panties, giving the illusion that she was naked under the ring. Goldust gave her his robe, and she left in that, which is the old Southern wrestling trick of how to get out of stripper matches. Obviously, this wasn't a wrestling match, but it did deliver what was advertised. Half a star. What do you make of Meltzer's comments here?
Well, I'm trying to bite my tongue and not say something that'll just offend a lot of people.
It's worth mentioning the aging stripper line. She's 30 right here.
Yeah, exactly. That's my point. I mean,
she's 30 years old.
You know, I thought she was beautiful myself.
Here's my thing though. She just sold the most magazines in history.
Yes.
And now she's an aging stripper.
Yes. And I mean, this is some guy that, again, it just sounds like he doesn't like beautiful women, and he's jealous of them, or he's upset with them for some reason of being in the business. And that's all.
I don't know that it's necessarily doesn't like beautiful women.
Well, he sure does. I mean, he sure does like to pick at them.
Maybe he doesn't like fake boobs or women in their 30s, but I don't know that it's beautiful women. I mean,
obviously it is.
Who hates that though?
Apparently Dave Meltzer hates beautiful women. If you listen to his commentary throughout this narrative.
May 11th. It's an interesting situation here. I can't believe this is real. She power bombs Marc Mero. There's an angle on Raw, of course, where Mero picks her up, says he could have given her the TKO, but he put her down, and then instead, is trying to humiliate her. She kicks him low, gives him a power bomb, leaves him laying. I bring this up because Cornette has told a story around this time that Steve Austin was supposed to wrestle Mark at a house show in California. Steve sees Sable powerbomb Mero on TV and calls Vince and said something like, "You know that match I was supposed to have with Mero? Who am I wrestling now?" Because Steve allegedly wouldn't work with him because he took a power bomb from Sable. Did you hear the story? And why does anybody think it's a good idea to have her power bomb him?
Well, first of all, I disagree with Steve on not wanting to work with him because I think that would have gotten Mero that much more heat to have Steve kick the living shit out of him. And I think the audience would have liked to have seen Steve kick the living shit out of him. I don't think anybody was buying a ticket thinking that Mark had a chance against Stone Cold Steve Austin. It was more of, hey, Steve's going to kick the shit out of him, and hopefully Mero would be hated enough that people would want to see that. I believe going back, it was Mero's idea to do the power bomb. The Sable bomb, if you will. And Vince went with it, and they did it because it built Sable that much more, and it added that another level of heat to Marc Mero that he got his ass kicked by a woman. It's fiction.
Tell me a little bit about hindsight being what it is. Still think it was the right call?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I'm not gonna sit there Monday morning quarterback it because again, it added heat to Mero and helped get her over.
It's in the Observer that there's speculation that Medusa might be coming in to pair with Mark to take on Sable. Was that ever discussed that you know of?
No, not that I know of. That might have been bandied about as a what if, but I don't think that was ever seriously considered.
That's like 3 years after she threw the belt in the trash too. So
yeah, I don't think that was ever seriously considered. That was probably talk and speculation of, oh yeah, I hear they're going to bring in Medusa. Yeah.
So on May 18th, Sable comes out and calls for Mero to come out, and Mero reveals that Sable has a contract and he's not going to let her go, and she has to stay with him and do whatever he says. So they're painting the story here to be that Sable is being held hostage. And on the May 25th Raw the next week, Mero loses to Farouk with the assist from Sable. And after the match, Mero tells Sable she can pick any wrestler in the WWF, and if that guy can beat him without her help, she can be out of her contract. But if that wrestler loses, she has to leave the WWF. Let's get to Over the Edge, which went down on May 31st, 1998. Sable is billed as having a mystery wrestler to face Marc Mero. Again, the story here is she gets her freedom. And Mero says he's sorry and lays down and lets Sable pin him to get her freedom. But when she covered him, he reversed her and held her down for the 3 count. The crowd didn't react to this, but I thought this was awesome. And of course, she's taking her bags and being shown leaving the building, quote unquote, for the last time. You know what's coming. Even though the crowd didn't like it, what a chicken shit heel move by Marc Mero. This was good stuff.
Well, it was. Again, it was adding that other level of heel. He not only beat a woman, okay, after she powerbombed him, but now he is sending her on her way, one of the most popular figures in the company. And he's the one responsible for her having to go away.
So 2 weeks later, the show opens with Sable coming out. Now there's no explanation of how she's back after losing this loser leave stipulation, other than Vince McMahon let her back and he can do whatever he wants. Meltzer would say, it appears they're going to be doing something in the direction of alleging she slept with him in order to get her job back, but at some point it'll come out that she didn't. After McMahon kissed her on the cheek, Steve Austin came out, helped Sable out of the ring, and called McMahon a chicken shit. This almost sounds like real life. Well, we can't bring her back, boss. She lost 2 weeks ago. God damn it. Nobody cares. Is that what happened?
I'm the goddamn boss. I can bring anybody back.
Yeah, pretty much. And to him, it made sense.
King of the Ring, June 28th, 1998. We're going to cover it later this month. It goes down in Pittsburgh. And in the show, Sable walks down to the ring and introduces Vince McMahon, who comes out with Pat and Jerry. As Sable leaves, Patterson pats her on the ass, and Sable turns around and slaps him in the face. Jim Ross made some sort of comment about Pat Patterson here. Any sort of heat on JR for that? At this point, it's not exactly a secret.
No, not really. It was always, funny to make the little inside funny ha-ha that people perceive to be funny ha-ha, as long as people weren't doing it to him.
You know what's coming next. The July 6th Raw, Miss Jackie is going to challenge Sable to a bikini contest at the pay-per-view. I'm curious. I don't know when we'll talk about her again. Why did Jackie come in here?
Jackie actually had come in here because I love chocolate titties. To help train Sable and to help get her a little bit ring ready and teach her a little bit more in the ring.
So Fully Loaded 98 is the pay-per-view that this all goes down. And you have to imagine, I mean, if you haven't seen this, well, who are we kidding? Of course you have. It's quite a sight to see. The ladies here are basically wearing nothing. Sable reveals handprints on her chest. This gets everybody talking. I mean, everybody, even Meltzer is sort of complimenting the women. He says,
"What?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Both women deserve credit as they had obviously trained very hard and dieted very hard for this. Both women's implants looked even more fake than usual on dieted down frames. We could see the dreaded nipple shot from Jackie, which of course was played up as not supposed to happen, but clearly the camera was right there for it. A planned high spot. Of course, they're using this as an opportunity to get over evil Mr. McMahon, who made her dress conservatively. And Marc Mero is furious and trying to cover up when he reveals the handprints. And Meltzer would sort of freestyle this. And he would say, I don't have a problem with them presenting the product the way they do, because this is a for-profit business. And at this point it's working. The day it stops working is the day they should change. You know what it is. If parents have a problem with it, I mean, you know what they should do. They should not let their kids watch it. What do you think?
Well, first of all, again, he's dead fucking wrong. And no, it wasn't a planned spot. It was an accident, and it was not supposed to fucking happen. It's, quite to the contrary. Seeing what Jacqueline was wearing was like, okay, make sure that you're all taped up so that nothing does come out. And so fuck him. He doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. They think they know, and they go, oh yeah, that must have been planned. No, it wasn't. It was a fuck up. It was a mistake, and not something that was planned.
What do you remember about the paint for the bikini top?
Well, I couldn't get it right, so I had to keep doing it over and over again so they'd get my hands just right. No.
Yeah, I don't think those were your hands. Those were Marc Mero's hands. I'll take it.
No, those are Richie Posner's hands.
Oh, so he just made them as like tape and then put them on?
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah.
Does anybody have to approve that beforehand? How does the pitch go down? It's one of the most famous spots of her entire career.
Oh yeah, man. It was it was pitched well ahead of time as to what that finish was going to be and what it was going to look like. And Vince had to approve it and see it all beforehand, make sure everything was covered. But good God, if Meltzer didn't like that, then I don't even know what the hell to say. 'Cause that was like, holy shit. That was amazing. I thought Sable looked great.
What was the reaction amongst the boys and specifically the ladies? It feels like somebody had something to say about this.
As from the boys, it was like, oh, I mean, there was the big reaction. It was fucking tremendous. It was, who's going to be pissed off at that other than Dave Meltzer? And I think that the females, especially, during this time, I think there was an awful lot of cattiness and jealousy, and they weren't a big, happy, joy family.
Huh. I'm sure we'll talk about that in a minute. Let's talk a little bit about, and I don't know, I guess this is as good a time as any. The next night on Raw, Mero, Sable, and Jackie come out with Lawler, and they're presenting the winner of the bikini contest. And McMahon sends a note that says, since Sable didn't wear a bikini, she's disqualified and Jackie wins. And Sable then said how McMahon wasn't even man enough to say it to her face, which of course brings McMahon out. And McMahon is hit with a few flying objects and sells them from the crowd. And McMahon said people like Sable, particularly in LA, were a dime a dozen, and she could be replaced by any bimbo or airhead. And then he strokes her hair, trying to tease like a sexual harassment deal, and teases firing her if she doesn't go along with what he said. But when he turns around, she flips him off, takes her clothes off, and walks around in a very revealing bikini and high heels. Knowing what she's going to sue for later, or what's going to be part of her lawsuit rather, this doesn't exactly age well, but it is something right out of a movie. What'd you think of this creative?
Well, frankly, I thought that we probably should have gone further with it, and it was teased so much and never really delivered upon, at least in this run, that people were already going there. It was Vince McMahon was the biggest heel, and here you have an equally big babyface, female babyface on the other side for him to play with. So it was something that I thought that we should have done a lot more with. But it was just teased and never delivered.
Talk to me a little bit about her relationship with Jackie. She's working with Jackie a lot here, doing arm wrestling contests. And, she's even going to call Jackie a bitch and challenge her for a match at SummerSlam. Of course, Jackie accepts. But we've talked about in an older episode, and you can touch on it here, how Luna and her just did not get along. And now she's working with Jackie. What's the relationship like there?
At first, the relationship was good because Jackie was there to help her. And I think that Rena accepted that and was looking at Jackie as a mentor. And Jackie was looking at this as an opportunity to get back in the company and to be able to do some more stuff. So in the beginning, but then as time wore on, from Jackie's point of view, I think that Jackie kind of felt that Rena wasn't doing everything that she could do to get better in the ring, and that she didn't really have that desire to get better in the ring. She didn't have to. I mean, people were going nuts for her just to walk to the fucking ring. They didn't care if she wrestled or not. And to have a wrestling match, per se. They just wanted to see her. So that's where the frustration grew. And I think that Jackie got bored and pissed off trying to teach her something she didn't want to learn.
Talk to me about Sable dancing with the oddities. How does that come to be?
Bro, what if the oddities had a beautiful woman? It just was a one-night thing, man. Let's put them out there. Have Sable go out there and dance with them, because they were being viewed as freaks, and they were being put out there as these oddities and that no one would love, much less a beautiful woman like Sable. So let's put her out there. God damn it. There's some oddities. That's all it was. It was never... These were the days of going through and just putting shit out there with no plan going forward.
Well, there was obviously a plan for SummerSlam because you guys knew you couldn't put her back in another singles match. So you do a mixed tag here, and it's going to be Sable and a mystery opponent to take on Marc Mero and Jacqueline. And on Heat, right before the pay-per-view, they've got Shawn Michaels interviewing her as to who her mystery partner is going to be, and she won't reveal it. And then they start dancing together. Meltzer would write, Sable loses her luster every time she dances. What did you think of that bit for SummerSlam 98, her dancing with Shawn Michaels?
Well, I think that Vince McMahon might have taught her how to dance.
Yeah.
I don't think that she was, going to go down as one of those great dancers in dance history.
Dance history.
Dance history.
I can't believe that's a sentence here on the show.
Dance, dance, dance.
I don't know about that. Sable and Edge, that's her mystery partner, Edge, wound up beating Marc Mero and Jacqueline. Meltzer wrote, this match was fine, although the reactions to Sable wrestling paled in comparison to where she was first put in the ring back at WrestleMania. No pop for Edge as the mystery partner. Ultimately, though, you know what's going to happen. Edge uses the downward spiral, which is the Canyon reverse Russian leg sweep, onto Mero, and then throws Sable on him for the pin. 1.5 stars. Edge is pretty new in the company here. Why is he the guy to fill this spot?
Hot, good-looking young baby face. Let's give him some of that Sable rub. What the fuck? You're gonna make him a heel.
Do you agree that? Yeah, thanks for that. Do you agree with Meltzer's assessment here? Because I kind of do. She's not nearly as over as a wrestler as she was the first time, which makes total sense. But did you guys start to think at this point, I don't know, or hey, it's still early. Let's just double down. I
actually agree, because it's the novelty had worn off.
Right.
If you keep going back to that over and over again, it's not a novelty anymore. I've seen it, and it's not good.
Something I have seen, and it was good, is Sable working an episode of Pacific Blue. She played a prisoner in an all women's prison.
Yeah, baby.
That sounds like something Vince Russo would have written, but it's actually not. It was written by Pacific Blue. But you guys got back to what you know. The next time we see Sable, she's going to be in an evening gown ripping contest on the September 14th Raw. Jackie's boobs come out of her underwear after a powerbomb again. And the next week, Jackie beats Sable in a short match. So there's lots of women's wrestling here. So you guys actually bring back the women's title here and you give it to Jackie because she won the match. It's sort of an interesting concept to bring back a women's belt when really you just have two women wrestlers in Jackie and Luna. Who was the proponent of bringing this belt in?
Nobody, but Russo felt that, tell you exactly what, there were so many people, and I'll throw Cornette into there, and there were a lot of the boys, that Sable's popularity was such that there was a lot of jealousy there and a lot of what the fucks. So I think that it became, oh yeah, you don't like that? What if we make her the women's champion? So let's bring the championship back into play, put it back into play, and eventually we're going to put the damn thing on Sable. See how you like that? In my mind, that's what it was.
Let's talk a little bit about how you guys got in a little trouble here for Jacqueline's nip slip. McMahon had to respond in the Rocky Mountain News to this allegation. Quote, "We don't have a leg to stand on. It was a live show. We took the risk and got burned. We burned ourselves. It was a kind of match. If we ever did this again, in all likelihood, it would have to be on a tape show. It was no doubt an accident. It's not like we were trying to pull one over on the public. We recognize our responsibility to the fans. What Jacqueline was wearing was not suited for this kind of match. Other than me inspecting the damn thing, I have to put it on Sable to make sure she was wearing something that would hold up." So he's saying it's an accident. And when they sort of press him on the fact that it was shown on the replay, McMahon claims the guy in charge of sending the replay didn't cut it off in time. Do you want to respond to these accidental on purpose nip slips?
They're not on purpose. They were fucking accidents, and it got compounded by people not exactly what he said. It got compounded by somebody going, okay, we'll go to a replay, cut off before that.
Hang on.
They didn't do it.
Now, I know you're over here, and I get it.
I'm not fucking kissing shit. Fuck you.
Hang on. You've told us on this show before that Vince McMahon personally asked Jackie to let them
In
things
the UK,
loose.
the first time that we ever did it in the UK, one time, yes.
Here's my question though. If you've already asked her to, I mean, if you've already set a precedent that she could let them things out.
No, you haven't. One time in the UK where it was acceptable and where they did it on fucking the goddamn network television in prime time.
Why are you so fired up at me?
Because you're sitting over there fucking doing your goddamn kissy fucking faces and saying it was an accident on purpose when it fucking wasn't.
All right.
You and Dave Meltzer.
Okay. Hey, first of all, fuck you. Secondly, you had Miss
Double
Kitty
fuck
you had Miss Kitty whip them things out on pay-per-view.
No, we didn't.
Well, she did. I know
she did.
I saw them shits.
Yeah, you sure did.
Well,
That wasn't approved either.
It's your fault. Oh, why can't y'all get anything? Why can't you get control of the inmates? Why are they running the asylum over there?
Yeah, they were all fired, weren't they?
Is that why they fired you? You were showing nips you weren't supposed to?
I did. You want to see them? Look, right here. I'm showing them right now.
You really are. Can I put this out? Can I take a picture and send that out?
No.
Okay.
No, because nobody can see my nips.
Let's look at the rules.
It's against the rules.
Listen, don't get hot.
This is a no-nip fucking show, goddammit.
I know you travel with pistols. I need to make sure that I'm not getting myself jammed up here.
Well, I'm fucking staying in your goddamn house tonight.
Yeah, I'm locking the door.
That won't stop me.
No, not with a gun.
Well, there you go.
Hey, hypothetically, if you were on Undercover Boss last week, would Stephanie have fired you again? Do you think?
No, fuck, man. They rehired me. Said how great I was.
I don't know what to say here. Around this same time, we start to see a female fan shown ringside every time Sable's on TV. Of course, this would wind up being Terry. Tell us about how Terry came in here. She's 34, former competitive bodybuilder. She'd been in pro wrestling at this point for almost 10 years. She even worked over in Japan for a while. But here she looks a little different than who we may have seen before. Meltzer even freestyles that she got plastic surgery to look like Sable, which is ridiculous.
And wrong.
How do you guys,
as usual, if it's written by Dave Meltzer?
How'd you guys find her? Tell us about Terry coming into the company.
Terry had been working mainly Japan, and she had been doing some cabaret work in Seattle, Portland area, something like that. And she was looking to move back to the States, stay in the States, and wanted to work. Sent in her pictures, and next thing you know, she looked an awful lot like Sable. She had similar features, the hair and everything. So Russo had the idea, hey man, what if we had a stalker, and came up with the storyline to put her with Sable. And Terry was also a worker. So again, the decision was made, well, if we put her with Sable, maybe it's somebody else that can, get her through matches.
Well, we see her towards the end of September. On the September 29th Raw, Sable comes out and high fives Terry Power and then challenges Jacqueline for the belt. And this is weird. Mero beats Vader when Jacqueline distracts Vader, and Mero hits him with the low blow and then the shooting star. But after the match, Mero says that Sable couldn't satisfy him. So she slaps him, and Jacqueline jumps on her and cuts off some of her extensions. What do you remember about this?
Well, apparently she couldn't satisfy.
I mean, it's such a weird thing.
Oh
isn't
my
it?
God. And again, as we say often, doesn't age well.
No.
When you go back and you're looking at it in 2018, 20 years ago, some of the things that were done and acceptable, not necessarily acceptable in 2018 anymore.
Unbelievable. In the October 26th issue of the New York Magazine, Vince was interviewed, and he talked about his hotel acquisition in Las Vegas, which we've talked about here on the show before, but he's also sort of freestyling what this might entail on the inside. He says there could be Stone Cold Steve Austin betting chips and an Undertaker tattoo parlor and a Sable lingerie shop. Do you remember that being pitched, a Sable lingerie shop, or is he just freestyling for this interview?
He's freestyling for the interview, but I guarantee you that at some point in a lot of the proposals that were made, that was in it. Because we had everything under the sun. We had daily matches. We had retired wrestlers as greeters in the casino. You name it, it was pitched.
Believe it or not, when we get to Survivor Series, Meltzer didn't hate it. It goes down November 15th in St. Louis. Sable does an interview where she guarantees she's going to win the title. And of course she does. She wins it in 3 minutes and 14 seconds. Shane McMahon is your referee here. And I don't know. Meltzer has some fun with the commentary here. I can't help but read it. A lot of men at home fantasize about being married to a wrestling babe, but it sucks. If it doesn't suck at home, it does suck in your storyline role. Jacqueline was choking Sable on the ropes, and her neck came nowhere near the ropes. Jacqueline went for a power bomb, and Sable power bombed out and hit her own Sable bomb for the pin. This was better than most of the matches on the card up to this point. 1 star. So he put the match over, but he can't help but shit on their personal relationship. You've sort of talked about how bringing your wife was not necessarily a smart thing in the history of the business. Sable's winning the belt here. It does feel like it's official now. She's got gold. Mero does not. She's the featured star. Mero's in the background. What's their relationship like, to the best of your understanding at this point?
At this point, I think that their relationship was still strong and good because after all the money's coming home to the family. So I think Mark was happy with that. The razzing and the ribbing on the other side by the boys to Mark.
It's gotta be brutal.
Oh, it was brutal. And I think sometimes that was taken to heart a little bit too much and may have gotten the better of Mark at times. But the relationship between Mark and Rena, I think, was, at least outwardly to us, was still good.
Chat me up a little bit when you're saying some of the razzing from the guys he may have taken to heart. Do you remember any line in particular, anything in particular that upset him?
Not anything in particular, but it was shit like, hey, did Sable pay for the room? Did Sable pay for dinner? And you need to ask your wife if that's okay. You want to go run that finish by your wife, make sure that's okay. Just shit like that, locker room stuff.
On the November 30th Raw, Shane brings out Sable to come out with the new WWF cologne and perfume. And Shane starts looking down her top and she sprays the cologne in his eyes. What do you remember about this?
I'm sure that was a mistake too. It's the way that we're selling goddamn cologne. WWF cologne.
I mean, what a way to sell the product.
Yeah, you know it.
Meltzer reported, first sign of little problems. Last week, Sable was scheduled to do an appearance at Mervin's in Bakersfield, and the store canceled because they claimed this product wasn't something they wanted to be associated with. This is when you guys first started getting some backlash about the content of the show, is it not?
Yeah, this is when the reports are coming out about how many middle fingers there were during the show, how many times we saw women's breasts in bikinis, scantily clad women, crotch chops, and all that other bullshit. So yeah, we were getting feedback, and it was starting to affect some, not necessarily the sponsors, but those outside folks and licensing and things like that. Yeah. Feedback.
Let's go to Capital Carnage on December 6th. Sable's going to team with Christian here to take on Jacqueline and Marc Mero. And Meltzer would write that the match had good heat. And on TV, Mero and Jacqueline split up a few weeks ago, so they're arguing before the match here. Quote, no word on what Mero was doing since he's supposed to be retired. It wound up with Mero and Christian brawling to the back, leaving the women in the ring. Sable ends up pinning Jacqueline with a TKO. Jacqueline's strap of her top was pulled down by Sable and her titty meat fell out. This is one of those moments where I wish Vince McMahon was here.
Damn. Chocolate.
I can't believe this is real. Really? She's not doing much physically in this match because they're warming up for her Playboy shoot. They're still in negotiations, but when she comes home from this, she starts training pretty heavy, and it's pretty much set that she's going to be on the cover, and they know this is going to do well because it set records for the Raw magazine. Allegedly, comes out in the Observer, she was given creative control of what shots can or can't go in, and of course, it's supposed to come out in April. What can you tell us about how the deal came together? We'll talk about the shoot and the particulars, but did they hear about the success of the Raw magazine, or do you guys have somebody on the inside reaching out for cross-branding opportunities and things like that?
We were hot at the time, and the product itself was hot, and Rena was, good God, Sable, that character, one of the most downloaded females in the world, and Playboy, as they often do, well, at least did back in the day, would often reach out to celebrities and some different people that would appeal to their audience and make that offer. Would you pose nude for Playboy? And they approached the WWE about Sable and asked, there was even talk about doing the women of WWF and all that other stuff. But Playboy had approached us.
So Playboy approaches you and they make an offer to the company or to Sable or to both. Give me the terms. I don't need dollar amounts, but
they came to the company about doing something with the females.
But here's my question though. Then do you guys say, hey, Sable, we want you to go do this, and here's what we're going to pay you? And then Vince keeps a spread. Is Vince a partner on per issue that's sold? Is there a flat fee? Give me some particulars here.
Well, I don't know the exact particulars of this. Usually what happens, they approach the company, and since we have the talent under contract, we're the ones that broker the deal. And yeah, the company gets a portion of that money because they're under contract to the company. So I'm sure that Vince probably looking at it and saying which of the females, and approached her, asked her if she would even be interested in it, if it's something she would consider doing. And she was interested in doing it. So they went further on with the deal until finally it was actually done and everybody agreed on it.
So you guys do the shoot in Santa Monica on December 18th, and it's allegedly for a cover, but it's not guaranteed that she's going to be a cover. Meltzer does write though that she's going to be totally nude in some photos, but positioned as being Rena Mero, not so much Sable. And they're going to acknowledge her marriage to Marc Mero. Quote, Playboy does more fixing of photos than Disney did animation in A Bug's Life, so any little imperfections will vanish in the photos. Allegedly, there's 2 different sets of perspective cover shots done for Playboy. One was with her wearing basically nothing, hiding strategically behind the women's belt, and the other is the black catsuit. Of course, we know the black catsuit got the nod. Was Vince nervous about putting the women's belt on there from a branding standpoint? Or would Vince not have had a problem with it, and Playboy just didn't want the belt association and wanted guys just to see the girl and say, oh, I need this magazine?
I think that it was Playboy's choice as far as looking at the 2 pictures and which one was going to sell more magazines, and not just appealing to the wrestling fan with the belt and what have you. I don't know what the hell their thinking was behind it, but I thought the cover they picked was a pretty good one. So I liked it. Obviously, probably Dave Meltzer didn't like it, but I liked it. And
did you guys get like a, when you go shoot a movie, the owners, the production company, they see clips before they're all put together. Do you guys get some uncut photos, and are you involved in the selection process at all? Or do you just see the final product?
No, I didn't get to see it till the final product came out. So
let's talk about this magazine shoot. Is this a landmark deal for the WWF?
I thought it was, because I thought that it took us one more step into the mainstream world. And I thought that Sable was beautiful. I thought that, man, everybody's going to want to see her naked. I enjoy the human figure. I thought it was great. So, I didn't see the dirtiness of it, I guess some people would find. Oh my God, they posed nude. I don't look at it that way. I really don't.
Well, do you remember if Linda McMahon had a particular opinion about this one way or another? We don't talk about that very much.
I never talked to her about it. I don't know if she ever had a problem with it.
Did anybody have a problem with it? Did anybody think, man, we're supposed to be catering to kids. Now we're in naked magazines?
No, we weren't catering to kids then. It was the Attitude Era.
Well, I mean, you say you're not.
Oriented.
You got slip and slides for sale, motherfucker.
No, we didn't.
Yeah, you did.
No, we didn't.
You got Halloween masks.
Yeah, for adults.
And dolls.
Action figures.
And lunchboxes.
Work cases.
And nightlights.
Sometimes you got to see where you're going.
You're really going to hang your hat on there where nothing sold for kids?
Wait, you're telling me that anybody who's ever posed for Playboy, there haven't been child stars? I mean, there have been child stars all over the place that are posed.
Yeah, but they weren't actively on the Sweet Life of Zack and Cody when they're
Save with the Bell chick did.
She wasn't a Save with the Bell. It's Saved by the Bell.
Whatever.
And that was
Saved with the
that was Saved with the Bell. I damn Saved with the Bell chick. She's so excited.
Yeah.
And she just couldn't hide it.
Both of them. Is that what that's not that song.
Yeah. She sang that when she had, she'd been taking caffeine pills and they were trying to teach kids about drugs.
Oh, all right. I don't fucking know.
I know you don't.
But both those chicks did Playboy.
Well, after the shows were done.
So?
Well, golly, I hate you sometimes.
I hate you back.
I know you do. Mark says that he feels like her doing this shoot with Playboy is really the beginning of the downfall of their marriage. Obviously he's uniquely qualified to know that, but was that sort of the rap amongst the boys? Like, did everybody feel like, well, she gone?
I don't really know, man. It was just more Sable and it was more fame and it was more exposure. So I think that people kind of looked at it as, if Mark was jealous before and if Mark was feeling ostracized before, this is definitely going to contribute to it, because more and more people are going to see more and more of Sable.
Yeah. Oh man. It just feels like, I feel bad for Marc Mero here. I know I probably shouldn't, but I do. The movie Universal Soldier 2, which Goldberg had the second lead in behind Jean-Claude Van Damme, had Sable audition for the fourth lead in the movie. A fitness queen from ESPN got it instead, Kiana Tom. Do you recall sort of greenlighting her to go try out for this movie? Is anybody thinking she could be like a crossover star at this point because of Playboy?
Yeah, we're hoping that a lot of our stars would. And she was somebody that was looking to do that. She was looking to do some acting and be able to get into that round. So any opportunity that make her a bigger star was going to make her a bigger star in the wrestling arena too.
December 28th, Sable wrestled the Spider Lady. And this is an inside joke. This is a rib for sure.
Why is it a rib?
Well, because of the whole Wendy Richter deal with Spider Lady. You don't remember that?
Yeah.
Madison Square Garden. We'll catch our listeners up, because not everybody was a super fan in November of 85.
Wendy Richter worked with Spider Lady in Madison Square Garden. Spider Lady pinned Wendy to win the title, and then was revealed to be the Fabulous Moolah after the fact.
So there you go. It was the original screw job in the WWF, the double cross. And let's get back to this Spider Lady situation. Tony Chimmel introduces Sable as the lovely Sable, and the future Tori runs into the ring and gives Sable a flower, and then's hauled off by the security guard we all remember, Jim Dotson. Meanwhile, the Spider Lady runs into the ring and attacks Sable from behind, takes her belt off, starts whipping her with the belt. The Oddities and George Steele run out to make the save, and the Spider Lady unmasked to reveal that it's Luna. Whose idea was it to bring back this Spider Lady gimmick?
I promise I'll be good and I won't hurt your little fucking queen.
Luna had kept calling and wanted to come back, and we liked Luna. So wanted to give her another opportunity to come back, and she was a character, had history with Sable. So try it again. Second, third, fourth, fifth chances.
Let's talk about December after Christmas of this year. They do a house show on December 26th in Chicago, and Vince McMahon is arm wrestling Mankind with the stipulation that the winner gets to kiss Deborah. Could never do this today. Vince wins clean, but then refuses to kiss Deborah. So Deborah goes to kiss Mankind, but Tess beats him up. Once Mankind goes down and out, Deborah kisses him. He wakes up. The next night in Madison Square Garden, they're doing this same routine, except this time the winner gets to kiss Sable. Of course, Vince wins clean again. Why does he win clean every time, Johnny Ace?
Oh, damn. Have you seen his arms? They're massive. He's so vascular.
And of course, when Vince wins here, he does in fact kiss Sable. And Shane asks Vince to also let Mankind kiss her as a nice gesture. And as Mankind goes to kiss her, he's attacked by Test and Shane. After he recovers, Sable kisses him and he leaves happy. A lot of people are going to point to shit like this where Vince McMahon's involved and have insinuations, rumor and innuendo. Your response?
People that want to think that shit and have the rumor and innuendo are going to spread the rumor and innuendo and have those thoughts regardless of what I say, you say, or anybody else says. They don't care about facts. They just want to come to their own conclusions and think their own shit. So it doesn't matter what I say.
Let's go to the Royal Rumble. Sable beats Luna in 4 minutes and 43 seconds of a strap match. And Terry comes out of the crowd, punches Luna, and Sable hits the fourth turnbuckle here to win. Meltzer would say, bad stuff, dud. What'd you think? I mean, who thought it'd be a good idea to put Sable in a strap match?
Well, it was better than having them have a wrestling match. That was for damn sure. And at least they could just kind of look like they're beating the hell out of each other with straps and not have to drop down, tackle, get it again.
So let's talk about this match, because Marc Mero allegedly didn't want Sable to do this match because she hadn't been trained for it, but they rehearsed it that day. And during the run through, he feels good about it. When did you know? We'll run through it all you want. This is a turd.
I kind of knew it before every match.
Sure.
Again, Sable didn't have a big desire to be a wrestler. That wasn't her passion. It's not what she wanted to do.
Let's talk about something that's been widely debated. It's out there on the internet. WWE's probably going to yank it down, but we're going to talk about it anyway. This is straight from the February 15th Observer. There's a lot of internal heat regarding Sable these days. Both Sable and Marc Mero asked for their release from their newly signed contract, but were turned down, as the WWF feels it's going to gain a ton of exposure from her Playboy cover, which comes out in early March. Recently, Sable, Deborah, and Chyna were on TSN, and somewhere in the debate, they turned the work into a shoot, and feelings on all sides were ruffled. Quote, I didn't see the show, so this is secondhand, but it went something like the host asking Chyna why she wasn't the WWF Women's Champion. Chyna says she wasn't interested in the title and had never even challenged for it, but if she did, she could beat Sable in 2 seconds. Sable said since the two had never wrestled, how could she say that? And Chyna says because she's twice as big and twice as strong. Somewhere in here, Sable says something like, what exactly Chyna puts into her body to make her twice as big and twice as strong. And then of course, somehow plastic surgery comes up and Sable is saying, no, you've had more plastic surgery than anyone in the company. And a lot of the wrestlers are siding with Chyna and are negative towards Sable here, thinking that they're going over the line when they're talking about or insinuating steroids or performance enhancing drugs. Sable and Mero, though, have made it clear she never wanted to even be a wrestler and was never even trained to be a wrestler. But allegedly, when she got this big payoff from Playboy, she doesn't feel as obligated to the WWF as maybe she had before. Meltzer freestyles, it's a pretty good bet that Luna is going to be winning the title, and it might even happen before the Playboy comes out, which if it does means things are worse than he even imagined. What do you remember about this TSN, the fallout from it, and then that these guys actually asked for their release here? Because I don't think a lot of people talked about that they asked for the release before the Playboy even hit the stands.
Yeah, I think that they had, Illusions of Grandeur?
Yeah.
And felt that, hey, once this thing comes out, that everybody's going to want us and that we're not going to be able to achieve the kind of success and the kind of stardom if we're just stuck here. So I think that there was that feeling and that got out. There was a lot of resentment from the talent because they felt that the WWE had got them to that point. And now that they had gotten to that point, now they just want to leave. As far as the interview, and I think we've discussed this before, it was a matter of, in my opinion, I think Chyna was in character by saying, I'm twice as big, I'm twice as strong, sure, and I'd beat her in 2 seconds. That's what a heel would say, especially a heel like Chyna in that same situation. And I think that Rena went into defense mode, not knowing how to just actually respond to that. And so she went right into defense mode. And I think it was just lack of preparation and just lack of experience in that regard on both their parts.
Well, let's talk about, the psychology behind who gets a release and who doesn't get a release, because you've told us before that Vince McMahon doesn't want anybody who doesn't want to be there. But you've also said the old Vince McMahon strategy was, they don't quit when they want to quit. They leave when you want them to leave.
There you go.
So you can't have it both ways. And we want them, we don't want people who don't want to be here. Why did he land on, we're not done with you? Is it because of Playboy?
Probably was because of Playboy. That was going to be a huge exposure for the company. So if she's on the cover and she's not there, it was twofold. We wanted to continue to do business with Playboy as well. If one of the WWE superstars does well for Playboy, they're going to come back and want more. And that's exactly what happened.
The rumor and innuendo is that Sable got over $1 million for Playboy.
I don't know what she got.
That seemed ridiculously high to you?
For that one, yes.
What you said for that one, you qualified it.
I did.
Well, what are you saying?
I'm saying that I don't think it was $1 million. I don't think that
you said that
it
one
was $1 million. I know that there was a lot of rumor and innuendo for the second one that they had offered $1 million.
Okay.
But that was all rumor and innuendo. I don't know what that was.
Well, you want to know an easy way to save money. Now there's a way to save money, even if you're not a homeowner. I'm talking about getting a lower interest rate on your credit card debt with a credit card consolidation loan from Lightstream. That's right. Lightstream. You see, Lightstream rewards consumers who have good credit with a great interest rate and no fees, and you don't have to be a homeowner. So get yourself a credit card consolidation loan from just 5.89% APR when you sign up for auto pay. You choose your funding date, and that could be as soon as today. And I got to tell you, Bruce, I know people are shocked to hear me talk about this, but I actually used Lightstream a couple of years ago when I was trying to secure the best deal for financing on a car. I was so surprised at how fast and easy it was. I went to lightstream.com and man, they made it simple. I had a check overnighted to me almost right away. I was able to shop like a cash buyer. I got a great rate. It was much better than even my local bank could have gotten. And I know you've recently checked out the lightstream.com site. What'd you think?
Well, the thing I liked about it was easy, and you're able to go in, put what you're looking for your loan, put it in there, and it will instantly give you an estimate of what your monthly payment's going to be, for how long, and the interest rate. And right now, my listeners, hey, get an additional interest rate discount on top of lightstream.com's already low rates. I mean, the only way to get this discount is to go to lightstream.com/wrestle. That's lightstream.com/wrestle.
Now, we should mention this is subject to credit approval. Now, you don't need perfect credit, but you do probably need decent credit. Your rate is going to include a 0.5% discount as long as you use auto pay. So make sure you check out that auto pay option. We should also mention terms and conditions apply, and all these offers are subject to change without notice. So visit lightstream.com/wrestle for more information. But again, you don't have to be a homeowner for this. So if you're a renter and you've got some credit card debt or you're jammed up, man, this is the spot for you. Lightstream.com/wrestle. Again, you don't have to be a homeowner. So let's cover this, man. I'm pretty excited about this because we've got the proposition of Sable turning heel. And this is really one of the first times that this is ever even discussed, as far as I know. Meltzer wrote, Sable turned heel, coming out and acting like it's all gone to her head. Terry, the stalker lady, ran out and Sable ripped her a new one. That's a new ass, not a new rack. Sable had been gone a few weeks to get, guess what? Her 31st boob job. She mentioned she was going to be on Regis and Kathy Lee later this week, her Playboy cover. And I guess she's the fourth one to get the TV Guide cover. The fact that TV Guide has been so favorable in their WWF coverage while ignoring WCW, and this is all WWF, says that when it comes to newsstand sales, the Undertaker and Austin covers must have beaten the Goldberg and Hogan's one by a good margin. I don't know that, but all signs point to that. So she's doing the heel turn here, saying that it went all to her head. Is this a little bit of real life sprinkled in here? Because you were just talking about how, you know, some of the guys weren't really happy and some of the guys were maybe siding with China, and she's really upset a lot of people in the back. Is this just sort of art imitating life?
Yeah, it definitely was. And I think that there were some members of the audience that were starting to feel it too. So capitalize on that. And the audience was kind of starting to turn on her a little bit because we had been shoving her down their throat. So now let's go the other way with it.
You know, when you picture she's going to be a heel, how do her and Mark react to that? I assume, and I'm stepping out here, that whenever you've got creative for her, Mark's present.
Usually, yeah.
So when you sit them down and say, Sable, here's what we got in mind. We want you to be a heel. Her reaction?
I didn't do it, so I really don't know what her firsthand reaction was. I can imagine that they weren't really happy about it because as a babyface for merchandise and everything else, I think the feeling of, what's going to happen there? Is that going to be a reduction in our income? Because as a heel, I'm not going to sell as much merchandise.
On the February 22nd Raw, Sable does another heel promo. This time she calls the stalker in the ring Tori. This is the first time we've seen this. She says she admires Sable, but Sable says she's pathetic and needs to get a life. And then Luna comes out and says that Sable's looks are the only reason she's the women's champion. And when Luna and Tori go to leave, Sable hits them from behind with the women's title. This sort of feels like it's got a lot of different turns. Do you guys even know what you're doing with this at this point?
No, no, not at all. This was week by week.
March 1st, Luna and Terry come out on Raw, and Luna cuts a promo saying she's sticking up for herself, Tori, and all the fans that Sable used to get where she's at. And Sable comes out to a huge face pop instead. And Cole announces that her Playboy's coming out in 8 days. So Sable starts dancing with these like stripper-like moves. And as she's climbing the steps, Tori then jumps Luna, and her and Sable double down on her. Sable gives Luna a Sable bomb, and Sable twice blew Tori off when Tori is looking for the approval. And this is when we start to see these hip gyrations here from Sable. She would use these at WrestleMania, which we've covered in the archives. What do you remember about her adding this to her repertoire?
God damn, you gotta move those hips. Get some thrust and some gyration in there, god damn it.
Yeah, I guess that was the heel dance. It's a heel dance.
Apparently, a few days after this, Luna gets let go. And Meltzer says, there were 4 separate incidents where there were problems with her and other talent and just things that were said that made the front office decide it's impossible to keep her. Apparently, she said a few weeks prior on Raw about not getting a shot because she's not as pretty as Sable, and that had been bothering her. And she had caused some problems in the back with Sable, Marc Mero, Jack Lanza, and Jacqueline. And she had complained about the angle where Gangrel was hung by the ministry as like a prelude to joining them. And then she basically challenged Marc Mero to a fight backstage before the Memphis pay-per-view. She blew up at Jacqueline, who she'd been friends with for a long time. And this happened in Dayton when she claimed that the Jacqueline Ivory match on Heat that didn't air was them stealing her style of match, whatever that means. And then she got mad at Black Jack Lanza that night as well. And there's a lot of women at this point, according to the Observer, that were uncomfortable working with her. And the plan at one point was for her to win the title from Sable at Mania. And now she's out of a job. Set the record straight here. What happened, Bruce?
God, it was just too much to handle. You know, we had brought Luna back hoping that we were going to get a different Luna. In the process, you know, she's married to Gangrel, so she's second guessing and has an opinion on everything that we were doing with Dave in that regard, which didn't help Gangrel much. She did have a blow up with Jacqueline. She did go off on Jack Lanza, who was one of the agents in the back over something that she didn't like. And Jack had approached her and tried to calm her down. And Luna was just, in my opinion, she just was in a bad place. And it was unfortunate because personally, I loved Luna and I liked working with her. But it was too much in a very short time. And especially, you know, I don't know what chance it was that she was on at this point that we had brought her back. So got to cut. Just got to cut.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. Luna's such a talent and you hate to see it end like this. I mean, do you remember there being at least any sort of preliminary conversation about her beating Sable for the belt at WrestleMania?
No, I know there was conversation about her working with Sable at WrestleMania. That's why she was brought back.
Right.
But I don't know. I don't know if they ever had any conversation with her or anybody else about her winning the belt. I think the jury, you know, and it was probably way too soon because the jury was still out on how's Luna going to act. And we started seeing signs of this might not be working out. And then 1, 2, 3, and however many strikes, and she was out.
Sable had every sort of mainstream publicity you could imagine when this Playboy was coming out, including an appearance on Howard Stern. And they're teasing some photos here that are getting rave reviews. And Meltzer would say that her story features a mixture of both fact and fiction. The fact being she is married to Marc Mero, the fiction being how she got her job. And Meltzer also says, quote, they didn't give her age, which is listed at 31, but is probably closer to 36 or 37.
What the fuck is wrong with him?
I don't know. She's really 31. It's crazy. Bob Rassman is in the New York Daily News and he does a column on Sable on March 5th. And he actually gets the chance to interview Sable for the piece. And I was sort of shocked by this. She wrote, as a responsible parent, I chose not to let my child watch it. My child is very young. She has a bedtime and she's in our bed when our show comes on. To me, that's being a responsible parent. Ultimately, it's the parent's decision. If you do not wish your child to watch the WWF, change the channel. It's not our place to put on a show that's supposedly for your children. It's your place as a parent to monitor what your children watch. And she said the criticism of the product is hypocritical because the lack of parental responsibility is ignored in the criticism of the product, and that other forms of kids entertainment aren't scrutinized as closely. Quote, are they saying it's not okay to see the characters we play beat up on each other, but it's okay to have your child watch a movie where a famous actor blows away 100 people with an M16. She claimed the character she plays is not degrading to women. Quote, I feel I'm being a strong stand-up woman. People don't have to like what I do or agree with what I do because they don't have to live my life. But I'd much rather have my daughter, when she grows up, do what she wants to do because she wants to do it, not because of what someone else thinks. When Rassman brought up Sable as playing a heel, but nobody's booing her, she pointed to her chest and said, why would they boo this?
I agree with everything she said.
I mean, listen,
including why would they boo this?
Is her entire career titty meat?
No, her entire career is not titty meat. But you know, again, when you're given a question like that, it is a parent's responsibility.
No, I'm not arguing.
You can't expect the company to parent your children.
Why would they boo this? Unbelievable.
It's a moneymaker.
It's unbelievable. Allegedly, she's signing Playboys here for $85 an issue. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, that's not true.
Oh, really? She'd sign them for less or more?
No, she signed Playboys and then someone sold them on eBay for $85.
Well, if she appeared at a trade show or something, she would have charged $85 for them, huh?
No.
Okay. On March 15th, Sable comes out in the Observer.
No, it doesn't.
Oh, you read the Observer?
Well, then that's wrong. That's a lie too.
On the March 15th Raw, Sable comes out and showed photos from the spread from Playboy, and it was slightly censored. And she talked about that being the last time anybody gets to see her without paying for it, which is obviously her trying to get heat. And Tori said she'd gladly let everybody see her for free and took her dress off. What do you think about that?
Oh, I thought it was awesome. I wanted to see her for free.
Yeah, sure you did. Any fun times you can share with us with Tori?
No, Tori was absolutely awesome, man. She was hard worker, and Tori was one of the boys. And Terry, you know, traveled with the boys, got along with everybody, and was a hard worker. I liked her a lot.
Yeah, I'm sure you did. On the March 22nd Raw, Sable beat Ivory in a couple of minutes, and Tori attacked Sable after the match, and that sets up WrestleMania 15. March 28th, we've covered this in long form in the Observer or in the archives. Check them out, somethingtowrestle.com. Here's what the Observer said, though. Absolutely the worst match of the year. It's pretty amazing. Tori came out in a bodysuit that was airbrushed to make it look like she had no clothes on. Tori didn't have a chance to do what she knows. They were blowing every spot and couldn't work together at all. People at ringside could hear Sable loudly complaining in the ring that Tori was hurting her and being too stiff. Tori did a crossbody, knocking out referee Jimmy Corderas, and Table set up the power bomb, but Tori was supposed to land on her feet like everything else in the match. That didn't happen. Nicole Bass hit the ring for about 30 seconds early for the run in and pressed Tori and dropped her, leading to the Sable bomb for the win. -2 stars. What'd you think of the match?
It wasn't that good.
Yeah, it was awful.
It was terrible. Absolutely terrible.
What's the reaction when they come back through the curtain? Everything about this thing was fucking snake bit, from the finish to the timing of Nicole Bass being in there. It was just off. When Sable and Tori walked through the curtain, what's Vince McMahon saying?
Deafening silence. I don't even know if Vince even saw it live, but it was deafening silence. What the hell do you say to that?
Right. Nicole Bass, chat me up. Who booked this shit?
Bro, we gotta have Nicole Bass. She's awesome. She's a giant. She's a great worker. She was a terrible worker. Just not a real good person. And, you know, it's kind of hard to get fired from ECW back in the day. And Nicole had even been fired from ECW. So that was number one for me, going, wait a minute.
Wait. You said not a good person. I'm going to need you to circle back to that.
I didn't think she was a good person.
No. You have to give me more than that.
Nicole Bass. Well, she misrepresented herself. She lied about certain things. And I think she was a good person.
Why are you saying she lied about certain things? What did she lie about? Just tell us.
She lied about a lot of things. She lied about what she did. She wrestled men naked for money in the UK and different places. When she told us it was just a UK booking, we found out after the fact. She told us she had a lot more training than she actually did. Not my cup of tea.
Okay.
Sure,
Good
Dave
enough.
Meltzer loved her though.
No.
Yeah, I bet he did. So I heard.
The next night on Raw, Tori and Ivory beat Sable and Jacqueline when Sable turned on Jacqueline, hitting her with the belt, and Sable never tagged in. The lights go out and Undertaker comes out, and the Ministry surrounds Sable, and Undertaker snatches her. He told Vince to come out or he'd destroy his meal ticket. So Vince comes out and for some reason thought of Stephanie and ran away. And when he got where Shane was supposed to be protecting her, she was gone. Tell the truth. How many people backstage were secretly hoping Undertaker was going to chokeslam Sable?
Probably quite a few. I'd probably say the majority.
This show obviously leads to a fun angle. On April 9th, Sable does a promo which introduces Nicole Bass as her bodyguard. Was there talk of trying to have a Chyna versus Nicole Bass deal since Chyna debuted as a bodyguard and now Nicole Bass is a bodyguard? And I think a lot of people would see a natural fit or opportunity there. Was that ever discussed as far as you know?
I think in Russo's head, I think that Russo saw that and really wanted to get there. But when that damn bell rang and Nicole Bass was more limited than Sable was. So what the hell could you do? She couldn't do anything. So that was never a thought because we had quite a bit of investment in Chyna at the time. And there was no way in hell we were going to put that investment in there with someone like Nicole Bass.
Sable later in the show announced that she was going to do a second Playboy shoot, but Meltzer says it's probably not coming out until 2000. USA Today was even doing an article on her here, and they're claiming she's 31. Meltzer is seemingly obsessed with this, and he says in other media appearances, she gave her age at less than 30, but he says he's been told she's older than Marc Mero, and he's 35. Settle the debate. Is she older or younger than Marc Mero?
I don't know how old Marc Mero is, but I know that at the time she wasn't that old. For some reason, somebody always, I guess it was Meltzer, would always assume that she was older, and I never got that.
Meltzer comes back and reports in the Observer that now that the sales reports are in for her first issue from Playboy, they're saying, nope, we're not waiting until next year. She's doing another one this year. And I find that interesting because allegedly the issue normally sells in the 700,000 range, and she's already at more than 1 million here. Who was more surprised by the success of the magazine? Playboy, WWE, or the Meros?
Playboy. Playboy was blown away because it was a wrestling person.
Right.
And they just were like, oh my God. What they didn't anticipate was the power of WWE television and that promotion every week with Playboy on the front, the cover of Playboy all over the place. And that was something they had never had.
On the May 10th Raw, there's an evening gown match between Sable and Deborah, and Val Venus comes out and distracts Deborah so Sable could tear the dress off. And in the match, Lawler made a comment about how great her dress would look on the floor beside his bed. And Shawn Michaels says it had already been beside his. And Nicole Bass chases Venus away. Jarrett hits him with a guitar. And Michaels says, as far as he's concerned, the one who loses their clothes is the winner. So he awards the match and the title to Deborah. And Meltzer says in the Observer, believe it or not, they had problems getting Sable to agree to do the job and drop the belt. Do you remember that being the case?
No, I don't.
It's just interesting to me that it's written that she's this reluctant wrestler, but then doesn't want to lose the belt. I mean, if she doesn't really care, why does she care? Right?
Yeah. That's again, it just doesn't make any sense.
Let's fast forward to the May 16th No Mercy pay-per-view in Manchester. Nicole Bass pins Tori in 27 seconds after a chokeslam, but this was scheduled to be Sable versus Tori. Sable's here, but comes out and does the grind and says she has a cold, so she couldn't wrestle, and has Bass take her spot. And behind the scenes, Meltzer writes there's been a lot of problems between Sable and management, to the point that some people think it's inevitable Sable is going to leave and try to market herself as Rena Mero in Hollywood. And Meltzer would write, the reality is if she does leave and go by the name Rena Mero, her shelf life in Hollywood is very short. Right now, she's in major demand as the flavor of the month because she can do business, i.e. sell magazines or draw ratings because of her popularity with wrestling fans who will cross over, but that'll be gone 6 to 9 months after she's off weekly television. The WWF has put up with her and she has to put up with them right now because they own her name, but she's become this ridiculously hot property for them for no other reason than being at the right place at the right time, because it sure isn't talent. There's the second Playboy spread, yet another TV guide. And since her contract isn't to be a wrestler, she's refused to wrestle at house shows. She's turned down doing the job in wrestling matches to give up the title on a few occasions, and is making fusses about being on TV wrestling at all. She was agreeable to wrestling on pay-per-view shows because of the money involved, but she doesn't want to take bumps anymore. This pretty well left them to come to this ridiculous compromise in order to get the belt off of her, even though that wasn't the executed plan, as it was supposed to take longer before she tore Deborah's dress off, although she did know she was dropping the title in that scenario. And Dave said a few weeks later, both Marc Mero and Sable were now in a contract dispute and not being used. Talk about how things got this bad. And allegedly, I guess we should talk about it now. While they're on this UK trip where she's just doing the grind, this is where it's the straw that broke the camel's back. Somebody took a shit in Sable's bag.
Yep.
Chat me up about the shoot shit in the bag and this ridiculousness of, I'm not supposed to be wrestling. I don't have a wrestler contract. I'm only going to wrestle if I'm getting big paydays. I'm not taking bumps. I just want to leave. Let me out of my contract. What can you tell us about this?
Well, again, it was no secret that they were unhappy and that they wanted to leave. And in my opinion, it's more than anything, she's not a wrestler, doesn't want to wrestle, so stop booking her as a wrestler. And I blame, creative for that, because you're not going to get anything there. She was unhappy. Mark was unhappy. And I think that they used all of those things to be able to get out of the contract and to be able to manipulate the things so that they wouldn't have to do those, to wrestle or be put in that situation. And the lure of doing a second Playboy also was like, well, I don't want to take bumps. I don't want to be in the ring because I don't want to get my body bruised up or scarred up or marked up for the next Playboy shoot. And from a business standpoint, she's right. That makes sense. So, but at the same time, they were unhappy and they wanted out. And I think that they were using every excuse in the world and every single loophole and anything they could point to get out of the contract. They weren't popular backstage, and the boys, being the boys, they ribbed her, a rib. I'm not fond of that rib of shitting in someone's bag. I don't consider that a rib. That's just brutal. But that's what happened. And that was the straw that broke the camel's back.
Sean Waltman shit in her bag?
I have no idea who shit in her bag.
Well, come on, guess.
Sean said he did.
Okay.
I guess that's who said they did. I don't know.
I'm sure he'll respond. Hey, yeah. Sean, did you shit in her bag?
There you go.
We'll retweet it. Meltzer reported in the June 14th Observer that, the headlines everywhere in the mainstream are that Rena Mero is suing for $140 million. She filed this lawsuit against Titan Sports on June 3rd, and she filed it in Connecticut. Meltzer would write that it had been building for months, allegedly going back to even before the Royal Rumble. Allegedly, she was pulled from the show and her strap match against Luna was canceled, but then they managed to put it back together again. And at that point, she made it clear she didn't want to wrestle regularly anymore. She claimed it was dangerous, that she hadn't been trained, and that she had never signed on to be a wrestler. But that is complicated because she's got the title at the time. And that doesn't necessarily endear her to the other wrestlers who've worked their ass off to be there and learn how to be wrestlers. So allegedly at one point, things get so bad that they ask for their release. And Meltzer would freestyle that management has painted Marc Mero to be the villain, manipulating his wife. And a lot of this blame is heaped on Mero. Before we keep going here, Is that the way you guys saw it? That Mero was sort of the shit disturber here, that if he could deal with Rena one-on-one, everything was fine, but he, out of jealousy or whatever, greed, inserted himself and it made things more difficult?
I think that some people might have thought that, but from my vantage point, I think it was a combination of both of them and too much too soon and everything going to their head.
Oh man. Allegedly, she earned somewhere between $750 and $1 million the year prior to her suing. And her magazine covers like Playboy and TV Guide did huge sales. Her video Sable Unleashed, which was a VHS, which was a big revenue source for the company at the time, was ranked for months and months only behind Steve Austin's stuff. And she's doing this with little to no wrestling experience, which I guess is really a testament to Vince McMahon's genius, is it not?
I think so, but again, she was man, she was beautiful. She was hot and everybody wanted to see her on TV. Yeah. And Vince exploited the hell out of that.
Let me ask this. And I know we're switching gears here. Sonny arguably was supposed to be in this spot and had it, but she self-destructed. Had Sonny not self-destructed,
had what spot?
Just the top female spot.
She did have it.
But I mean, it was her own doing. I mean, she just fucked it up, right? I guess what I'm saying is if Sonny hadn't fucked it up and been too difficult to deal with and had all these other problems, and if she hadn't made those decisions that led to this opportunity, Sable would have never even had this shot, right?
No, I don't think so, because I think that the emergence of Sable and having competition is probably some partial what led Sonny to destruct.
It contributed. Yeah. One of the things I've been fascinated by is where she pretty much paints that she helped draw the house, and that has to annoy a lot of people. Meltzer would write, problems actually began last April after the WWF Unforgiven pay-per-view show. Sable did her first stripper match where the loser would be left in their bra and panties against Luna, where she wound up in lingerie. The show was headlined by Steve Austin's first title defense against Mankind and drew a .85 buy rate, which is a surprisingly high figure based on the standards of the time. Sable felt she deserved an equal payoff to Stone Cold Steve Austin, claiming she was at least equally, if not more, responsible for the buy rate, and that attitude garnered major heat in the locker room. Although, in hindsight, if you look at the numbers, the Austin Mankind rematch the next month without Sable stripping did a .58 buy rate, which is well below the normal standard for a show at the time. That's fascinating to me because even I'm a wrestling nerd. I had no idea, because he's right. There's two matches there that are essentially the same. Austin and Mankind on top. The first one does .85. The second one does .58. Huge drop. The bikini.
It was a return.
But the stripper match has got to be part of that, does it not?
Look, I'm not going to argue that she contributed to that and was a huge draw. Equal? No, I wouldn't say so.
How much less than percentage wise?
I don't know.
I'm just saying, like,
I think that she definitely was a huge factor.
To me, it shows that she's she's clearly the difference of .58 to .85.
I disagree.
What else was on that Unforgiven?
I don't know. I don't have the card in front of me.
That's what I'm saying. The next major pay-per-view appearance, though, was the bikini contest at Fully Loaded. And that did a .9 buy rate, which is slightly higher, realistically the same from that time the previous year. But it is, a great arguing point. We should also mention that the WWF not only allowed, but brokered and encouraged the first deal, and they were all involved in the timing of it. We're talking about Playboy, of course. Allegedly, Mero turned down Playboy at first and wound up acquiescing when the money deal was upped. And the WWF allegedly was putting heat on here because they wanted the cross promotion for WrestleMania. And in theory, WWF wanted a cut, which they didn't want the first time, but they do want the second time. Chat me up here. The second deal that's done with Playboy, allegedly the magazine deals straight with Mero. Normally they went through Jim Bell at Titan Sports, and he was serving as the agent because in a marketing sense, the company Titan Sports owns the name and likeness of Sable, but here they make the second deal directly. How big of a deal is that in this contract dispute?
Well, it's a huge deal because she's still under contract to us. We're the ones that originally got that deal. And without the promotion of the WWE television promoting that magazine, it would not have sold what it sold.
You know, there's no arguing that. I mean, even Meltzer writes, there's no doubt that a large part of the reasons the first spread sold so well was because it was pushed to death on WWF television. And without a similar television push, the second spread wouldn't have anywhere near the same success. Now, a lot of people are probably thinking the second one isn't going to be as successful anyway, because as you said earlier, even about her wrestling, the novelty's worn off. There is this curiosity of, I wonder what she looks like naked, but you don't need to see it the second time. Right?
Yeah.
So the WWF eventually offers a release, which I was sort of shocked by. They came to this conclusion when both Meros come to the TV taping on May 10th and ask for a release. They've got 3 years left on their deals, and WWF offers the deal, allowing Mark to get a full release, which means he can go right then back to WCW, which is going to be difficult because he left on bad terms. He can work anywhere else, but they're going to enforce a non-compete clause for Sable, which means she can't work in wrestling until August of 2001. And she cannot use the name Sable to market herself at all. Chat me up here. The idea of letting him go right then, but not making her work out the non-compete, that's chess right there, is it not?
Well, obviously there wasn't as much value in Mark. Mark, you can go. However, for wrestling purposes, Sable, you can't. You can't go work for a competing wrestling company. You want to go to Hollywood? You want to go do acting? You can go act as Rena Mero, not as Sable.
And allegedly,
that's business.
Playboy wants her to use the name Sable, and she's trying to use the name Sable. And her deal allegedly is she'll get a small percentage of the increase in sales over the monthly average. And now all that is going to be tied up in court. And there's a 24-page lawsuit here where she is alleging all kinds of stuff, specifically about a scripted mistake where her breasts would be exposed. And she says that this is something that they asked her to do multiple times and she refused. And they had a similar situation with Jacqueline, which we've talked about earlier. And you've said not the case.
No, I said we asked her one time in the UK.
I'm talking about on Raw where she was exposed and there was a replay that was shown, and McMahon denied it and said, it was a bad replay guy. Anyway, in the lawsuit, she even says that Vince McMahon called her a prima donna and said that, if they couldn't come to terms, the WWF would move on to its next queen. And they're saying this in regards to, we need you to accidentally show your breasts. You're going to deny that, right?
I never heard that in my life.
Allegedly, they wanted to have a loser would be stripped down to nothing but a bikini bottom match in an evening gown situation for the UK pay-per-view on May 16th. And Sable allegedly voiced complaints here, and the match was switched where that wasn't the stipulation. And instead they just said she had a cold. So that's what we just ran through, where instead Nicole Bass took her place in a 27-second match,
which was too long.
It's also funny that she refused to drop the belt, and they still
Meltzer says she refused to drop the belt.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Meltzer says she refused to drop the belt. She didn't refuse to drop the belt. She did drop the belt.
She did, but it was on her terms.
No.
Okay. Correct it. Don't just say no. This is a podcast.
She didn't. That's how Vince fucking did it. That was Vince's terms.
Okay. Marc Mero wrote a handwritten contract for Rena and her title loss to Deborah, which both sides agreed to before the show. And it was as follows, quote, notwithstanding any agreement between us, because we disagree about the fashion I would lose my belt, and because of my concerns of humiliation and safety, it is agreed that I would appear tonight solely upon your contractual assurances that I will not lose my gown nor wrestle, and that the girl with whom I'm interfacing with agrees with her role. My appearance in Manchester shall be no more than parading in the ring and shall not include wrestling. I agree to make a scheduled personal appearance outside the ring. Otherwise, I will have complete hiatus from the WWF until May 23rd, at which time we hope to have our contractual concerns resolved. Until such time, neither I nor the WWF, its employees or subcontractors shall speak disparagingly about the other, scripted or unscripted. What do you think of this shit? I mean, how furious is Vince McMahon in all this?
Yeah, furious. He's pissed off, and he's pissed off that it's come to this. And sometimes you look at some of these things, especially many years later, and I wasn't involved in it, thank God. But it gets down to being silly. I mean, it's just really, when you read it and you look at it, it's just silly.
When all this happens, they took a shit in their bag. Do you think the guys in the back knew about this? I mean, it is the old telephone, telegram, tell a wrestler.
Yeah. I don't even know. Probably. I would probably say there was a lot of rumor and innuendo, and I think the guys just had enough of them at that point.
Do you feel like, in a weird way, shitting in the bag was really like, because here's the thing, everybody listening to this well, not everybody, a lot of people hearing this hear shitting in the bag and think funny, haha. But in real life, if I was to call and tell my mom, hey mom, one of the guys played a joke on me, they took a shit in my bag, that's horrific. And especially if it's in a work environment. I mean, the real world, when they hear you defecated in her luggage, I mean, that certainly from the outside looks like, wow, these guys are assholes, right?
Yeah, it definitely does. And that's, you can't defend that. There's no defense. There's nothing you can say to defend it in any way, shape, or form. You know, it was considered hazing and everything else, but at the same time, it's just like you say. You and I were talking today about, could you imagine that happening in an office, in any workplace? However, in sports, I guess there was a time that was acceptable as a hazing or whatever the hell you want to call it. I don't know.
I mean, she says that this overall behavior should allow her to have her contract rescinded, and she wants to maintain all merchandising rights to the name Sable. And she's claiming that the WWF and their behavior here has violated the Connecticut Unfair Trade Practices Act. And this would obviously be a pretty big deal for the entire business, because she's suing for $100 million here in punitive damages. According to the lawsuit, in March of 1996, while accompanying her husband to a contract signing, McMahon told Mero he was struck by her beauty and suggested she begin appearing as a valet, and she signed a contract with them in April. And a year later, he first proposed having her wrestle. And she claimed she had reservations because it could be a health risk if she fell forward because of her large breast implants. And she also claims that she had conversations with Vince about the steroid and drug problems in the company. And McMahon says he was going to clean the company up. And in the coming years, she discussed with McMahon the illegal drug use, steroid use, and the direction of the increased violence and vulgarity of the show, and said that she wanted to sort of pull some of that back to pursue acting. And she claimed McMahon said he would enforce the drug policy and limit her appearances so she could pursue acting. But instead, that was not allowed, and nothing really changed. I do find a lot of this stuff I could buy into, but the idea that she put in the lawsuit, I also talked to him about the steroid and drug problems, that really does feel like somebody just trying to needle somebody else, does it not?
Yeah, and again, I'm not privy to the lawsuit or what it was. I wasn't privy. I wasn't involved in it. So I didn't concern myself with it. But when you look at the overall, it boils down to she was brought in as a performer and not a wrestler. She wasn't a wrestler, didn't want to wrestle, and wanted out of her contract after she had reached a certain level of success and wanted to take the name that we created and the persona that we created. And we created that persona and that name. So, my opinion, outsider looking in, I'm not going to even claim to be a legal pundit in any way, shape, or form, or give you an opinion on a fucking lawsuit. But that's how, I think when it all boils down to it, that's what it all came down to.
She wrote in her lawsuit that she had a 3-year deal that was supposed to expire in April of 99, but in June of 98, McMahon gave her a new contract to sign, saying that the appearance and payments had been changed, but she didn't sign the new contract. So in August at the Nassau Coliseum, Jim Ross demanded she sign the renewal, and he said he'd brought a notary with him from Connecticut for the purpose of notarizing the contract. She says she wants her lawyer's advice before signing it, and Ross ain't having it, and says, you've got to sign it right now. And eventually she of course does. But the only major difference here is that now there's an arbitration clause, which basically absolves the company of any sort of wrongdoing in the instance she was to be injured or whatever. She also, and this is where a lot of people, I mean, this is the way it's painted. This entire lawsuit is basically described as sexual harassment. It is mentioned here, but it's way, way down the list based on what we've talked about so far. She claimed to be placed in a dangerous and morally compromising situation on multiple occasions. She says men would routinely walk into the women's dressing room as if it were by accident. She says that men would cut holes in the walls to watch the women get dressed. She says extras were hired by the WWF to expose their breasts, and they were really just strippers that they used as fans at house shows. And she says they even claim to have a big nipple contest where men brag about their sexual encounters with women present. And they produced,
Who had a big nipple contest?
I guess the guys were having a big nipple contest. I don't know.
I don't either.
They produced catalogs and t-shirts with Sable in a degrading fashion, offering sexual favors. And they wanted her to do a lesbian angle. And she claimed that it was tied to roid rage, that wrestlers would regularly threaten to beat her up outside of the ring, and specifically pointed to a wrestler threatening to bite her face to ruin her career. And she claimed that other wrestlers were told to engage in sexually provocative and outrageous conduct as a marketing ploy, even though she complained that she found the increasing sexual tenor to be offensive and morally objectionable. She says that announcing that Shawn Michaels and Jerry Lawler had done the deal. Like, there were phrases that were used on commentary, like, do you think she is horizontally accessible? And the other said, she is accessible every which way from what I hear. And then when she's holding the microphone, somebody else said, she certainly seems comfortable with holding that microphone up to her mouth like that. So there's lots of, double entendres and sexual innuendo. When you hear that, does this feel like the Meros just piling on? I mean, they knew what they were signing up for. Do you remember them pushing back on the creative? You were there for some of this.
No, I was there. I was there for all of it. I wasn't there for any pushback whatsoever from them at any time. And a lot of that, I wasn't involved in the creative either. So I didn't have that level of involvement with them one-on-one for any of this. So no, it was never brought to my attention that any of that was questionable at any time in any way, shape, or form. That was the nature of the business at the time. We did use a lot of sexual innuendo and double entendres and what have you. That was a product that we were pushing at that time. It's a different time and different place. So it was what it was, and you don't hear any complaining while they're going through it. So it's, again, you stated before, as far as how people look at it, a sexual harassment lawsuit. It wasn't. It was a contractual lawsuit. And I think a lot of it, just so much of it, the narrative and summarization by people like Dave Meltzer and even Phil Mushnick and other media that gives that narrative and their interpretation, their summarization is what has made people think it was a lot more than it actually was.
So let's talk a little bit about where the money comes in. She's claiming that the company didn't change its drug policy. Well, they didn't enforce their own, as she'd been promised. They didn't limit her appearances, as she'd been promised. She wasn't able to develop her acting career, as she'd been promised. So she says she had losses exceeding 10 million. She also says that her merchandise was not accurately reported from an accounting standpoint, and she needs those damages to be determined. But she needs another 10 million for the remarks that were made in the broadcast, which violated her agreement, another 10 million for an unsafe working environment, which caused her emotional distress. She also says that work was made so intolerable that she had to leave work, and those damages cost her another 10 million. And she claimed that they had violated the Unfair Trade Practices Act, which is another 10 million. So eventually it's well over $100 million here. And Meltzer would say that some parts of this is just silly and that some does have merit, but not nearly at the financial level that was stated. And he says that she would be a more sympathetic character if she was turning down these exploitations of herself rather than allowing herself to be marketed and then taking the big payoffs after being exploited sexually for all she was worth. Because the company was clearly complicit with her in all of this. And he does say just because she posts for Playboy doesn't mean she should be requested or expected to expose her breasts in an arena or on a live Raw or pay-per-view. And you would say that never happened anyway, right?
I never witnessed it happen ever.
While all this is going on, I guess it's worth mentioning Marc Mero's dad passed away. When all this is going on, are you having any sort of, I mean, what was your relationship like with Marc Mero? I mean, did you have a relationship when any of this is going down where you could just call him and say, dude, really?
Not really. My relationship with both of them during this time was strictly business. And, I dealt with them on business matters, and it wasn't a friendly relationship. It wasn't a strained relationship or anything else. It was just business as usual. So it wasn't anything out of the ordinary.
We're not done. I think a lot of people forget this. On the June 14th Nitro, Sable was shown sitting ringside, and she's in the front row, and there's tons of camera close-ups, and she comes out just before 10 PM and there's a Kevin Nash interview and a huge reaction to her where the whole crowd is chanting Sable. And they're even showing a sign, which is probably a plant, that says Sable 1, Vince McMahon 0. Lots of close-ups on her. She's waving to the camera. She's never officially identified as Sable or Rena Mero. And WCW, of course, is saying she bought a ticket, but her contract specifically forbids her from making an appearance here. And this can't sit well with Vince. What do you remember about this appearance on Nitro?
Well, no, and it doesn't help their cause either at all. And it doesn't help the WCW cause. But, yeah, he was pissed. And it's just one more, shot over the bow that, okay, you want to play, then let's play.
You guys wound up sending her a cease and desist, saying that they had suspended the usage of the name Sable, and from this point forward, she could no longer use the name. And this was part of a negotiation ploy, according to Meltzer, because he says the impact of the Playboy deal, which is really what started all of this in the first place, is going to be tremendous. Over the weekend, though, she's doing an autograph session and signing the name Sable on TV Guide, and she's doing this left and right. And the WWF is attempting to get a fee from Playboy to allow them to use the name Sable. And that's where it starts to get interesting, because the WWF pushing it is really what made it so successful. So Playboy really needs their cooperation. What do you remember about that second negotiation with Playboy? Because it's rumored that she got $850,000 for this second one. And obviously the WWF wants their cut, as well they should be. But it's not like you guys would promote her if she wasn't on TV. Did you talk to Vince about this? Or were you privy to any details about this second Playboy deal?
Again, the whole deal is we're the ones that made the first one so popular. And without that, they're not going to sell as much. And without what we did for the first one, there wouldn't have been a second one. And I believe on the first one, and I don't know for sure, but I believe Vince had given Sable all of that and didn't take any cuts. So now it's like, okay, we proved to you the power of our television, and we want to continue working with you guys. And the fact that they went directly to Rena and Mark was kabuki-ish at best. And it was like, okay, you guys aren't going to sell as many with Rena Mero as you will as Sable. And it's just got all kinds of fucked up.
It's weird because You know, you guys are now suing WCW for other stuff, but now you just pile on here and you're suing WCW for the appearance on Nitro and trying to investigate whether or not she was paid. And in the middle of all this, they're trying to promote this new Playboy appearance, and NBC has her advertised for Jay Leno's Tonight Show, and she's billed as the World Wrestling Federation star Sable. Of course, WWF is going into major mode to get that shut down. McDivitt is even quoted as saying, "She can sue us till the cows come home and she's not going to get it," meaning the name Sable. "She can make all the allegations she wants and it won't get her anywhere." And Mero was quoted in the USA Today as saying, "I think people do not realize that wrestling has no regulations, no state control, no federal control, no union. When I first signed 3 years ago, it was fun, but wrestling has changed tremendously over the years. It's become so obscene and so violent." What hurts her credibility here is that she's participating in all this silliness and coming around with handprints on her boobs. I mean, it's really easy to criticize her stance here, is it not?
Yeah, I think it is. And I think that's how people looked at it. It's like, why didn't you say anything then? And, you know, I think it was just, I want out of the contract and how much money I can make outside away from wrestling. If I'd only get away from wrestling.
It's kind of interesting because she does wind up making that appearance on Leno, but she doesn't appear as Sable. She appears as Rena Mero, the artist formerly known as Sable. Meltzer wrote, "She got only a tepid reaction and showed very little in the way of charisma or personality in the setting to an audience that didn't really seem to know who she was or really care. It was a real reality check to her being able to make it outside of the choreographed confines where all she had to do was look a certain way and dress a certain way and she'd be a star. She claimed the obscenity and vulgarity in the WWF had gotten out of hand and she'd never participate in the WWF again unless things changed. When asked about the name Sable, all Mero said was it would be up to the courts to decide. And Leno said, 'I hope you win your lawsuit.'" Did you see the appearance on Leno, and what'd you guys think?
Actually, I pretty much agree with that. It just was, without having that backdrop and having a story to talk about, all of a sudden the story is, well, you're not with WWE anymore. Why? And versus having a story in the WWE and being able to talk about the character Sable and those storylines. And the sad thing about it is Rena from day one was an absolute sweetheart. And one-on-one, man, she was great. And it just, I think that all of a sudden, the notoriety, the money, the exposure, everything all at once, changed them.
It was decided, of course, that she could make it on her own. So when she leaves the company, she does go film a commercial. She has an opportunity to do an infomercial for an ab roller. She's also doing like cosmetic stuff and fielding some scripts for television. But of course, we know none of that really popped off the way she probably hoped. On July 12th in Hartford, Connecticut, it was ruled officially that Titan Sport owned the name to Sable. I mean, there's no legal precedent otherwise. And you guys couldn't allow her, even if Vince wanted her to have the name, which I don't know why he would, if he let her have it, he screws himself for any future situation like this. Does he not?
Yeah. Because again, it sets precedent.
July 22nd, they settle officially out of court for everything else. And the goal is nobody's going to talk about the terms of the settlement, which allows everybody to sort of save face. And they announce on the website for the WWF that it had been settled, but they would say nothing further. And Vince McMahon did go on Entertainment Tonight before the settlement was finalized and insinuate that Mero wouldn't get any money in the settlement. And a statement from Mero, which was at the end of the piece, indicated that McMahon wasn't telling the truth, but she didn't want to get specific as to what wasn't true. And they also had Big Show and Ivory knock Sable as being a prima donna in that Entertainment Tonight issue. What is known about the terms of the settlement is that the contracts are the same as the original offer from the WWF. Mark can go wrestle with WCW right away. Rena can't work in wrestling until her contract expires in August 2001. If you had to freestyle a guess the terms of the settlement, I know you're not going to tell us dollar amounts. Take a stab at it. Guess.
As far as what?
as far as what the financial terms of the settlement were?
If I were to guess, and I have absolutely no idea whatsoever, but they might have paid her through whatever her contract was, whatever that downside guarantee was.
So they just, much like when WCW goes out of business, guys just sat at home and still got their paycheck. But
right. Well, but that was again for giving part of the release and holding on to the name. It's like, okay, we'll take care of you if that's what they did. And I don't know that, or they might have just given her a lump sum, but I guarantee it was nowhere. It wasn't a huge, substantial amount.
It's interesting because Marc Mero here seems like he's, I don't know, not happy with the way all this is going, to say the least. On July 27th, they air a show called Fox Files, and Marc Mero is being interviewed. And at one point, he gets so upset with the questions that are being asked, he grabs the tape from the cameraman. And they publicize this ahead of time. It really makes him look bad. What'd you think of that? I mean, it had to be something you guys were talking about. I mean, it feels like he's in a really horrible spot here.
I never saw it. I heard all about it and everything, and just that Mark had kind of gone off the deep end, but then we'd also heard that they were having issues and that their relationship was not in a good place. So I think that everything was kind of taking its toll on Mark and probably on Rena at the same time.
One thing that became clear about the settlement is that Playboy had negotiated with Titan Sports for the rights to use that name, as she would be billed as Sable in that magazine. And they even said they were going to put out a 96-page, quote unquote, Ultimate Sable Special Edition magazine coming out in October, which would mean she was the first woman to ever be on 3 Playboy issues within 1 calendar year in history. I mean, I know this is not probably what she was hoping for as far as mainstream. That's pretty fucking incredible, is it not?
Yeah, it is. But, I think that with the machine behind her, it could have done a whole hell of a lot more.
She's all over the place again. When this Playboy comes out, she's doing Conan O'Brien, Howard Stern, lots of other stuff as well. But she puts out a book entitled Undefeated in August of 2000. And she puts out a comic book, The 10th Muse, starring herself as a superhero. And then she, does an advice column in May of 2001. Did you ever write in and ask for any advice?
Well, you know what, man? As a matter of fact, I did.
Let me guess. You were asking for advice about how maybe you'd become a little lazier. Maybe you'd become a little softer. Maybe you'd become a little fatter. Okay. You're a little fatter.
Well, Conrad, the thing is we, as in you, me, we need to bring the men of this country back to greatness. And it's easier than ever with Ageless Male Max. Ageless Male Max.
Whoa.
Look,
Well, hang on. You're not going to do this like that, are you?
Yeah, I'm going to do it just like that.
No.
Listen, do not tell me how I'm shivering. Because Ageless Male Max is a patent-pending formula with an ingredient that helps boost your total testosterone. It promotes a greater increase in muscle size and twice the reduction in body fat percentage than exercise alone. Plus, an amazing 64% increase in nitric oxide, which can be handy in the gym, baby. I spend a lot of time in the gym, but I spend a lot more time in the bedroom, if you know what I mean.
All right. Take your manhood to the max by trying your first 30-day bottle free. Just pay shipping and handling. Not 10 days, not 15 days, but a full 30-day supply free when you text the word SLAM to 797979. Wait, how much did I just say that was?
Baby, that's free. That means they cost you nothing.
Why am I doing this?
Listen, because it's free, Daddy. Listen, it's finally a formula that boosts your total testosterone. And if your adult ageless male max are too intense, please decrease use.
Too intense.
Get your free bottle, baby. Tell them how to get a free bottle.
Text SLAM to 79-79-79. That's text SLAM to 79-79-79. Now your message and data rates may apply, but wait a minute, this says it's free.
Yes, it's Ageless Male Max. Baby, and it is free. All you got to do, listen, you go to your phone and you get on that little message thing and you hit text.
and you type in FLAM, slam, and you text it to 79-79-79 for your free 8-bit mail back, baby.
But what?
Free.
30 days worth for free?
30 days, baby. Free.
How are they paying for this commercial if they're giving everything away for free?
Before they find out, everybody out there, you text the word SLAM. That's SLAM, SLAM, to 79-79-79. Woo!
What? Why does everybody want to give away free stuff on our show?
Listen, baby.
We're never going to make any damn money if they keep giving everything away for free.
I know, but they get it for free. It's going to make you feel good.
Okay. Well,
It
we'll
wasn't
see.
like being a fat guy. It ain't either.
All right, hey, roll tide on that. So, she pops up in the Excitement Wrestling Federation. I know you were a big fan of that. She's there on November 13th and 14th, and she's the on-camera CEO. How do you think that went?
Was that ECW?
No, they were out of business by then. That was XWF, the Excitement Wrestling Federation. Yeah, we wouldn't see her much over the next few years, but she did make a phone call to Vince, allegedly around March of 2003. And Marc Mero says that he's stunned when she tells him that she called Vince and she wanted to go back to work with the company. What do you remember about hearing about this phone call, and how shocked was everyone to hear Vince say, "What if?"
Got an idea, pal. What if we brought Sable back? And man, it was interesting to say the least, because I think that we were looking for that holy shit moment, and I think we all believed that we were going to get that, and I think we did.
Well, I mean, she comes in after $140 million lawsuit. Nobody has a problem with that, you don't think?
Dude, Bruno Sammartino came back. Ultimate Warrior came back. You can go right on down the list of people that have sued and burned bridges and everything else and have come back. I came back. So, no, nothing shocks me. Absolutely nothing. It's business, man.
How did you feel about Sable coming back?
Well, again, I go back to, I always got along with Rena and thought, well, shit. And also, I was led to believe that, Mero was not Marc. Mero was not a part of it, and that they weren't even together anymore. So I'm thinking, you know what? We may have a different person on our hands.
Whoa. So you think that Mero was a bad influence and she was a different person without him?
I thought the opportunity to work with her alone would be better than taking them as a pair. I wasn't interested in the pair.
So chat me up here. Does she, as far as you know, say, "I'm not with Marc anymore. He won't be meddling in my shit"?
No, not to me. And I don't know if she did it to Vince or not, but Vince made it very clear to us that Marc was not a part of the deal.
Okay. Wade Keller would report that the idea of bringing Sable back had been something that came up in 2002, and that McMahon had never been against the idea to bring her back. So this was the natural time, based on the history of her posing for Playboy, and now Tori Wilson is going to be appearing in Playboy. So she actually returns to the live crowd on April 3rd, 2003 on SmackDown. Tori Wilson is hosting a Playboy coming out party in the ring, and Sable interrupts her. And Wade Keller would say that the first reaction didn't go nearly as well as they would have hoped, as the live crowd didn't even recognize her when she came out. What do you remember about her debut here?
See, I disagree with that, because I felt that the reaction that we got was stunned. It was almost like am I looking at a ghost? Is this really happening? Because it wasn't that long ago that she had been there, and the lawsuit and different things, those were pretty public. So I think people were shocked. I think that they didn't believe what they were actually seeing.
Well, she knew where her bread was buttered. She appeared on Bite This on April 11th, and she says, "I really feel very welcome there," of the SmackDown locker room she's talking about. "The roster has definitely changed, and the locker room is a very comfortable place to be, and I just felt extremely welcome and comfortable, very happy to be back. And she's putting over Stephanie McMahon like crazy as being very nice and easy to talk to and express yourself to. If you ever have any feelings or opinions or thoughts on something, Stephanie is certainly there to listen to you. She certainly has great advice. And so far it has been wonderful. And I really hope for our relationship to grow and continue. See, why didn't you do this to Stephanie? You know, if you would have had this attitude towards Stephanie, we wouldn't even be here now. Right.
Yeah, but we're there.
And you got to pull a gun on her.
No, I didn't.
Just kidding.
Fuck you.
There we go. We're back. On April 10th and then the 17th, it's more silliness here with Sable doing sexual stuff that she just sued for, by the way. On the 10th, she enters Tori's dressing room while
she sued for contract shit.
But it was listed.
But
it's
like,
Meltzer
and all those other
it's
guys
so vulgar.
Like to sensationalize shit.
No, she wrote it was vulgar and obscene.
No, that's what Meltzer wrote from his summarization.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, she enters Tori's dressing room while she's showering, takes her towel and makes her walk toward her while she's nude to retrieve it. And the next week she flirts with her by taking her top off. And the week after that, and I think you'll like this, Tori Wilson was in a wrestling match and Sable was the special guest referee. Tori Wilson's opponent was Nydia and Nabel is on the outside.
Nabel? Hey, yeah, baby, I love that navel. I like to get me some navel every once in a while. That Nydia, I like to get my tongue down on her, Nydia, and just get all up in there. You know, baby.
On the May 1st SmackDown, Dawn Marie and Nydia took on Sable and Tori Wilson. And Sable abandoned Tori, leaving her to fight a handicap match. Jamie Noble's there. What would he describe Dawn Marie, Nydia, Tori?
Well, I like them handicaps, you know, when it's 3-on-1. You know what I'm talking about there, Conrad? Or 2-on-1 when you get 2 and then there's on 1 and they all get together and you know, get on up in there. You know what I'm talking about, baby.
It's a weird deal, man. Judgment Day goes down and Sable approaches Tori backstage. Sable's rubbed oil on her legs very seductively and is talking about how good it feels. And then Tori watches and then walks away.
How about when I was rubbing oil on your leg earlier today, you said that felt good. So it does feel good.
There's a bikini contest where Taz MCs the contest in the ring and Tori dances behind some sheets with Lillian Garcia. And then Sable comes out and they both strip to near nothingness and the crowd chooses Tori. Then they kiss.
Yeah.
What are we doing? What are we doing?
Yeah.
Then they go through this deal where they're pouring water on everybody's head on SmackDown, which is really weird. And then in June of that year, it becomes official that Rena and Marc Mero separate. And this is kind of funny because as they're going through this tough time, well, I'll just read Marc Mero's exact quote. We were still married at the time, but we weren't really seeing, I don't know, it was falling apart. I remember calling her and her not answering the phone, and I'd get very upset. Here I am, assuming she was seeing another wrestler. I remember thinking, when I find out who this guy is, I'm going to beat the tar out of him. When I found out it was Brock Lesnar, it gives forgiveness. Bruce, what's your response to that? Great line by Marc Mero. Clearly has a good attitude about things.
Well, what other kind of attitude are you going to have? I've had my face kicked in by Brock Lesnar. I think that's a damn good attitude.
So when you find out that they're separated, I mean, is it a pack of wolves in the back? Does Brock just raise his hand and say, I got an idea?
Yeah, to this day, I have no idea how the hell they got together and never really asked. I just remember when it all came out, it was okay. That's new. And that was about it. It was a very underwhelming reaction.
On the June 12th SmackDown, backstage, a flirtatious Sable invited Zach Gowen inside of Stephanie's office, and there, Sable took her top off and placed Gowen's hand on her breast. Later in the show, Sable continued to flirt with Gowen, only to stop abruptly and tell him she couldn't be with a one-legged loser. Then Vince entered the room and told Gowen to leave. Vince and Sable embraced and laughed about the joke they played on Gowen, and later in the show, Stephanie walked in on Vince and Sable fooling around. Steph cried and told a story about performing favors for her father's business clients while she was 17. What the fuck is this, Bruce?
That was an impromptu. I remember it like it was yesterday. I remember the room and everything because I was producing it, and she wanted to try something, and that was her promo, and Vince didn't know what she was going to say. I didn't know what she was going to say, and he was like, "All right, go with it."
Hang on. You going to tell me that whoever wrote that?
Nobody wrote it. Stephanie wrote it.
Oh,
Yeah. Stephanie said, she goes, "I've got an idea. Let me do this." And Vince was like, "Great, go with it."
And
it was never followed up. Nothing ever done. And
hang on. And nobody in the back, when she says that, is like, "Oh yeah."
No.
I mean, that's clearly what she was playing off of, right?
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
Why are you playing dumb here?
No.
I did favors for your business, Dad, when I was 17. I'm so upset about it. I mean, they got to be playing off that stupid rumor. I mean, we've debunked it 1,000 times that it's nonsense, but that's not something to get the internet riled up right there.
No.
Or at least it wasn't expressed to you that it was. I mean, that just seems obvious to me that they're just playing off of the silliness of that.
No, it was literally something exactly as I explained, doing it in that room and going over it, and just, I have an idea, hit it, and next.
Yeah, it does feel weird because there's clearly no payoff for it.
No, never referred to again and moved on.
Let's talk about the other rumor that's going around at the time. I don't know why there's always these rumors with Vince, but it is a little weird. This is a lady who has the sexual connotations in her contract, and when she comes back, she's making out with the boss. This leads to all sort of rampant stuff because of all the silliness that was mentioned during the first lawsuit, that maybe Vince is fooling around with Sable. And considering she literally just sued for it, that feels like the most ridiculous thing ever.
And considering that she's traveling with Brock Lesnar.
That's a great point.
Yeah, boy,
yeah. I know you're the genetic jackhammer, but come on, there is a limit here.
Yeah, it's, I'm sorry, just somebody says it, and all of a sudden, because somebody says it over and over and over 1,000 fucking times, eventually it's got to be true. Somebody said it because Dave Meltzer wrote it in his fucking Observer.
On the July 10th SmackDown, Steph and Zach come out for Zach's contract signing. And after Gowan signs the contract, Vince and Sable walk out, and Vince announces that it's a handicap main event.
Well, of course it is.
He booked himself versus Gowan for the pay-per-view. And then Sable hits Steph with a clipboard. Backstage, Steph attacks Sable, so Vince books them in a pay-per-view match. And they have a food fight a week later on SmackDown when Stephanie attacks Sable in a luxury box. Why does Vince McMahon love food fights so much?
He loves food fights and toilet humor.
It's amazing. I mean, it's just amazing. Good ones. What was the reason here to move Sable away from Tori and put her with Stephanie? I mean, is there just better chemistry here?
Yeah, I think so. And I think that there was, that element of what the fuck and playing off of, Sable suing the company and Stephanie being the owner and the general manager of SmackDown and all that other shit. I think that there was that hint of reality there.
On the July 24th SmackDown, John Cena walks out and raps about his desire to slap Stephanie's ass. Steph grants Cena his wish and lets him slap her ass. And then Sable interrupts the promo and challenges Steph to come backstage to fight her. Steph comes backstage and finds Sable, and then the women brawl until Sable ducks inside of a limo. And then Vince climbs out of the limo and cuts a promo on Steph. That takes us to the Vengeance pay-per-view, which we're going to cover next month. It was from July of 2003. Sable pins Stephanie in about 6.5 minutes. And Stephanie rips Sable's top. Referee Brian Hebner takes his shirt off and Sable uses it to cover up. And it's described as an intense brawl that accomplished its goal, and it gets 1 star. It's awful, is it not?
Oh God.
So a week or two later on SmackDown, Undertaker walks in on Vince once again, making out with Sable. Let's fast forward to SummerSlam. Keller wrote that Undertaker pinned A-Train with Sable at 9 minutes and 23 seconds. And this is kind of weird, but we've got Sable entering the ring afterwards, after the choke slam. and Stephanie comes out and attacks Sable, and then A-Train yanks Steph off Sable. So we're building and building and building this Stephanie and Sable feud. And they continue this through September and on into October. And there's lots of weird stuff here. You know, he's making out with Sable in the middle of the ring. He's telling Sable how sexy she is. And then Vince with Sable gives Stephanie another chance to back out of an I Quit match on October 2nd, and Steph refuses. So Vince body slams her and then has a breakdown. Undertaker comes out and choke slams Vince, and Brock Lesnar charges the ring, and Taker fends him off with a big boot, and Stephanie's crying. And that leads to the No Mercy pay-per-view. This really happened. Yeah. Vince McMahon takes on Stephanie McMahon.
And this is like right before her wedding.
This is amazing to me that this is real life, that this all happened. I mean, it's like a real life episode of Jerry Springer, except, you know, it's not real life either, I guess. What did Linda's involved in this. What does Linda think about all of this Vince McMahon making out with Sable right in front of her nonsense?
Linda made out with Eric Bischoff in front of Vince.
I didn't know that Eric Bischoff had sued for sexual harassment.
It's entertainment. It's fucking entertainment.
It is hilarious. This happens right before her wedding, Stephanie McMahon's wedding. She's wrestling her dad on fucking pay-per-view.
Yeah, that was part of the part I liked the most, having a hardcore match and choking her with a pipe and everything a couple weeks before.
On the very next SmackDown, you gotta remember, this is right around the time of his daughter's wedding. Vince and Sable walk out to the ring, and Vince announces that he celebrated his big pay-per-view win over his daughter by having sex with Sable all night long.
Yeah, genetic jackhammer.
Oh my God. On the November 13th SmackDown, Sable shows Vince pictures of his dog in the new WWE coffee table book, trying to calm him down. And he flips to a picture of the Undertaker and flips out. And later in the show, she presents Vince with Father Frank to help him release the tension. And Father Frank recites the Lord's Prayer, but Vince interrupts several times. And he says, the priest should be praying for Taker, not him, because he's sending the Undertaker to hell. On November 20th, he comes out with Sable again, and he says Taker pulverized his pelvis and thanks Sable for the therapeutic massage. This is amazing. He says Taker is personally being tortured by the devil, and John Cena interrupts and says Sable is a gold digger. And later in the show, Vince has Sable massage his left bicep. I mean, this is unbelievable. A couple of weeks later, they have Ernest the Cat Miller come out.
Do it. And Sable pissed me off. So I said, I'll get that, boss.
He tries to get Sable to dance. She refuses. So Cat kisses her. Then there's a Santa's Little Helper contest on Christmas, and the girls are dancing for the crowd. You got Tori Wilson, Dawn Marie, and Sable. It's just unbelievable. February 5th, they announced that Sable and Tori are going to be in Playboy. That gets to WrestleMania 20. We got Tori and Sable taking on Stacy and Miss Jackie Gata. They only get half a star, but lots of TNA here for the crowd, which is really what they're looking for. And it's reported in April that Sable's going to be returning to TV anytime. And she's kind of popular with the crowd, and especially the locker room, since she's come back, especially compared to the first time. What's changed between her first run and the second run where people are digging her here?
Well, an attitude. It was definitely a different attitude. And I don't know if it was Marc Mero, if it was just, you know, people mature, and she was around the business a little bit more, but it was a happier Sable.
It's pretty fun because around this same time, it's like super common knowledge that she is with Brock Lesnar. And of course he's finishing up at WrestleMania 20 here. It comes out in the May 8th torch that she had to have one of her breast implants repaired, but there were no creative plans at this time. On June 3rd, there's a swimsuit competition. Sable participates there. Jackie gets the win. On the 24th, backstage, Sable asks Tori why she's hogging all the spotlight. That sets up a match on July 21st. Tori beats Sable. And on August 1st, they have, Brock Lesnar trying out for the Minnesota Vikings at their training camp, and Rena is there. and he's introducing her as his fiance. When word gets out that these guys are going to get married, is there a reaction from the company? Obviously Brock didn't leave on the best terms. She's still technically there. Anybody have an issue? It feels like sometimes stuff like that shouldn't matter gets guys heat.
No, not really. And I think those of us that were big Brock Lesnar fans are like, okay, you know, you're happy for Brock. Are you happy, big man? Great. And move on. I try so fucking hard not to get involved in people's personal shit in business. It'll kill you.
The August 5th SmackDown is one of her last appearances for the company. Eddie Guerrero drove to the ring with Dawn Marie, Sable, and Tori Wilson in the car with him. He unloaded all the Kurt Angle stolen merchandise he was auctioning off on WWE.com for charity. In the August 31st edition of The Torch, it came out that she was released. It was a mutual agreement between the company and Mero. And one of the reasons, at least according to the dirt sheets, was that she was unhappy with the way she'd been used on television. She enjoyed acting and really wanted a real storyline rather than just the swimsuit contests. And she just wanted to spend more time with her fiance, Brock, wanted more time with her 16-year-old daughter, really wasn't digging life on the road and just wasn't really tickled with her role on TV. So it was time to go. And they weren't going to allow her to work a different schedule. Didn't really have any new creative plans for her. So when she asked for a release, she received a release. And allegedly there's no ill will here at the end. What do you remember about how this all ended for her?
The way I remember it was she wanted to spend more time with her daughter and she wanted to spend more time with Brock. And that's what it came down to, being on the road by herself and being able to get more out of her. You wanted her to be able to go out and do house shows from the television exposure. And that wasn't something that she wanted to do. She had a good return. We got a good little run out of it, but there wasn't a whole lot more to do with her if she wasn't going to be out on the road and traveling all the time. So this one ended nicely. It was like, you know, it's not working. I want to be home and I want to be a mom and I want to be a wife. So great. Thanks a lot. And it was amicable.
Why do you think she's not talked about more today? You know, people talk about, you know, this trailblazer and this legend and this, you know, lady who paved the way and blah, blah, blah. They never talk about Sable there, arguably the hottest lady at the hottest time in the business. And she's just sort of been whitewashed from history. Why do you think that is?
I don't think she has. I think that people still talk about her and they still remember her as just that. And she was a trailblazer and she was one of during that Attitude Era, man, she was it. You know, on the female side, she was the diva during that time. There was Sunny, then there was Sable, and she was the shit. So I do think people still remember that, and I don't know why she's not talked about nearly as much.
I mean, do you think it's a WWE? I mean, it's clearly a WWE request. Fans still remember her. I wasn't insinuating differently. I just mean WWE doesn't really show her in like a lot of highlight packages and whatnot. Do you think that's just to not sort of poke the bear with Brock?
No, I probably think because of the provocativeness of the character during the time and just being more kid friendly now.
Yeah.
I think that's more it than anything.
Let me ask you this. You know, Meltzer has obviously been very, very critical of her and thinks that, you know, she was talentless and she was only there because of the way she looked and blah, blah, blah. How much of her success, I'm not saying this to be funny, how much of her success is based on her breasts?
Well, I think her overall look is what attributed to her success, but also to be in the right place at the right time and take advantage of that.
No, she definitely made the most. I'm not trying to minimize it. It's just, it sort of caught me off guard when she told a reporter, how could you boo this? And you point to your breasts.
Well, they were beautiful.
I'm not arguing that.
Well, again, I don't know. It was her overall look, and that was a big part of it. I mean, she had a tremendous body, a tremendous look, and she was hot. So that definitely attributed to her success.
Who was a bigger proponent of her success, McMahon or Russo?
I think both of them.
I mean, if you had to pick one, like who's the first guy who took a chance on it?
Vince McMahon.
Okay. Do you think Sable should be in the Hall of Fame, and why do you think she's not?
I think she will be. I really and truly think she will be.
Do you think it's weird that so many other women have went ahead of her?
I think that other women have gone ahead of her in the wrestling genre, but I think as a character, a superstar, I think that she definitely has a place there because she was a big part of that Attitude Era.
What do you think her legacy will be in the business?
Boy, it's just that Attitude Era and being able to break the mold. And she was the first female that was featured that wasn't a wrestler. Sunny was, but Sunny liked to get in there, and Sunny wanted to be a wrestler. Sunny wanted to bump and do all of that. And Rena was the first one outside of that mold.
Well, we're getting out of the mold next week because we're talking about something that you guys have wanted for a long time. It's King of the Ring 1998. Set your calendars, boys and girls. It's going down one day after the 20-year anniversary. Of course, that happened on June 28th. We're going to be talking to you on June 29th. The following week, on July 6th, we're going to cover Brutus the fucking Barber Beefcake. We've also got Muhammad Hassan coming your way on July 13th. July 20th is going to be all about the Invasion pay-per-view. And July 27th, we're covering Vengeance 2003. And that's the exact 15-year anniversary. And we've got a hilarious Vince and Zach Gowen match to discuss there. If you've got questions about King of the Ring 1998, be sure to ask us on Facebook or on Twitter. It's at Prichard Show. You can also catch us on Facebook at facebook.com/something to wrestle. And later this week, there's rumor and innuendo that Bruce might actually be taken to Facebook to answer some of your questions about Sable. So if you haven't already, go like us on Facebook. You might also be able to catch that on YouTube, which is at somethingtowrestle.com. If you haven't checked out our YouTube, I strongly encourage you to do so. We're going to have new exclusive content coming your way there very soon. There's even a rumor that we might have some stuff from some WWE live events coming your way that nobody's going to have footage of except us. So if you haven't already, go hit the subscribe button. It's free at somethingtowrestle.com. He is at Bruce Prichard. I am at Hey, it's Conrad, and we are out of time. But we want to remind you to pick up your tickets right now. Rochester, New York, July 7th. Tickets are on sale now at brucepritchard.com. Stay tuned next week for the on sale for Boston. And don't forget Chicago. We had a blast, but we're bringing the gang, all of them. Starcast.com, STARRCAST. Couple of gold bracelets released this week. And Bruce has got his full appearance schedule for all of his other dates where he is on tour coming to a town near you at brucepritchard.com. Don't put a T in his name. Put one on your back. Don't forget when you pick up one of those t-shirts, Bruce is eventually going to give you a call. And if you're not in the mood for t-shirts, we've got everything else. And I mean everything else at boxofgimmicks.com, from baby onesies to tumblers to everything in between. Boxofgimmicks.com is your hookup. And as always, savewithbruce.com can help you save some money on your next mortgage. Make it happen right now at savewithbruce.com. And WWE Network Wednesday. You want to tell them what it is, Bruce? I'm pretty excited about it.
I'm really excited about it because it's my good friend, The Undertaker.
And we've covered The Undertaker from the very beginning, but we're going to do something different here. We're going to cover the American Badass and Big Evil version. We're going to go from 01 to 03. Of course, at the end of 03 is when Big Evil was buried and the dead man would come back in 2004. We've never really talked about that version of The Undertaker here on the podcast. So we're going to talk a little bit about The Undertaker and the man behind The Undertaker, Mr. Calloway. He's at Bruce Prichard. I'm at Hey, it's Conrad, and we are out of time. See you next week right here on Something to Wrestle with Bruce Prichard.